Pagi yang terang di Lita Sepang F1. Saya pengacara maya anda, Nazruddin Ramadan. Kita bersedia untuk berlumba. Dan di Lita Sepang F1 ni, walaupun kita nampak sunyi sepi, kita terkilan peminat-peminat motorsport, suka motorsport, peminat Toyota Gazoo Racing tiada bersama kita, tapi anda tetap dekat di hati secara maya. Dan kita bersyukur kita dapat menjalankan pusingan kedua musim yang keempat Toyota Gazoo Racing. Kalau kita lihat di sana, racers kita pun dah bersedia. Dan terima kasih kepada penaja-penaja kita, Toyota Tires, Denso, NK, Motis, Modelistas, Toyota Capital Malaysia, dan tidak dilupakan Drive M7. Tanpa penaja-penaja kita tak adalah Toyota Gazoo Racing. Kepada anda yang tak familiar, baru pertama kali nampak Toyota Gazoo Racing, inilah dia event perlumbaan yang khas untuk anda peminat-peminat motorsports. Dan sekarang ni kita dah ada 4 jenis racing class. Jadi dalam 4 racing class kita, sporting, super sporting, promotional class, dan tidak dilupakan rookie class kita, ya. Jadi kepada peminat-peminat yang dah lama menunggu bilalah Toyota Gazoo Racing ni nak sampai, kita dah sampai juga, alhamdulillah. Apa yang boleh kita nantikan di alam maya untuk anda semua dari segi pengisian? Kita akan mulakan dengan qualifying session kita untuk 4 jenis kelas. Dan selepas itu, mari kita dekat sikit, kita juga akan berehat seketika. Kita ada hiburan yang disediakan khas untuk anda oleh selebritis Toyota Gazoo Racing kita. Siapa yang bakal membuat persembahan? Nantikan, memang hebat hari ini. Kita ada kolaborasi dan juga artis-artis yang akan membawakan lagu-lagu hits mereka. Kita akan berehat seketika dan kita kembali pada pukul 2.15 petang nanti untuk race 1. Dan besok pula kita akan teruskan kepada race 2 dan kita akan lihat pelumba-pelumba kita cuba meraih seberapa banyak mata yang mungkin untuk digelar juara pada akhir musim yang keempat nanti. Jadi jangan kita buang masa. Apa kata kita bersama dengan racecasters kita yang akan memberikan segala informasi tentang jenis-jenis kelas dan juga pelumba-pelumba kita. Baiklah para hadirin sekalian, kita pas kepada racecasters Victor Ang dan juga Matthews Isaac. Boys, it's over to you. It's time to race.
Alright, so terima kasih Nas. Dan kita berada di dalam Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge Season 4 round kedua. Anda bersama saya Matthews Isaac dan sebelah saya adalah Victor Ang. Dan saya adalah pengulas dalam bahasa Melayu dan beliau akan mengulas dalam bahasa Inggeris. So Victor, apa khabar?
Baik, Matthew. It's good to be back here once again in Sepang. It's great day here today for some racing action. I can't wait to see how things are going to happen here because we're going to be starting out the qualifying session. This is going to be quite exciting because it's going to be the first time in a while we're going to be seeing these guys out on track again.
Yes, betul tu. So saya pun sangat teruja nak tengok apa yang akan jadi di dalam race ini. So seperti biasa kita akan mulakan dengan qualifying ya Victor.
Yeah, indeed. This is a very important session here, because this grand qualifying session can determine a lot of things. I mean, for one, it's going to determine the starting grid for our first race here. And number two, it's going to give these drivers the final chance here to really dial in their cars, make sure they got all their setups done right here because, again, after this qualifying session, it's going to be part forming rules. The drivers will not be allowed to work on their cars anymore, so it's absolutely important to get everything right just for this session.
Yeah, so kita ada 4 kelas ya Victor?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be 4 class and yes, talk us through the class a bit there
Oh
Victor.
yeah, so we've just like the last round here, we've got our 4 classes. We've got the super sporting class, the sporting class, the promotional class, and of course the rookie class. So the super sporting class, these are represented by all the full-time drivers. We're talking about some of the best drivers from all over Malaysia coming into one series here to compete. And as for the sporting class, these are going to be the part-time drivers, the guys who are may come from the amateur leagues and are looking to try to break their way into the big scene. So this is going to be kind of the stepping stone for these guys, to make their way up the ranks. And then of course you got our rookies. These guys are personally coached by our very own racing coach Alex Yong. He's been giving them so much insight, and these kids, they've been really learning so much. Even some from round number 1. I really want to see what kind of improvements these guys are going to be bringing when we come into round 2. And last but not least, we got all our favorite celebrities coming into the promotional class. And once you got all those guys in one place, it's going to be a havoc, isn't it?
Yes. So kita akan lihat sedikit apa yang akan jadi di dalam race-race yang akan datang. So in the meantime, Victor, I am really absolutely amazing to watch. But jom, we have a look on what's going to come up next in our race. Yeah.
And I do believe we're supposed to be seeing our racers here. A little bit of an awkward transition there, but yeah. We're going to be introducing all the drivers that are going to be coming into this reporting class. And yeah, on the screen here, we got Brendan Paul coming in here. We got Kenny Lee coming in number 38 for Kigani Racing. Of course, these guys have been racing all the way since like last season and even through season 2 as well. Tengku Janlei, I mean, this guy, what else can you say about him? Winner of race 1, winner of race number 2 for the super sporting class. Definitely going to be a guy to beat. Some of these guys here coming in are definitely going to be huge contenders. Hayden Heikel, for one, from Speed Addicts, is going to be a really good contender here. And of course, the rookie class, these guys are going to be racing alongside the super sporting class. We've got some great guys like Mika Hakimi, Amir Haris, who in fact had actually taken one of the podium positions during the previous race. Nakib Aslan, of course, has been the absolute stellar performer here on the rookie class so far as race 1 and 2 for his class, And Putra Adam, Troy Arman, these guys are really looking to see whether they can try to turn their fortunes around when it comes into round number 2. Juan He has seen a lot of success, especially in race 2. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to continue that coming into this round.
Yeah, so ini adalah promotional class. Kita akan lihat kereta nombor 1 iaitu Akio Takayama. Dan ini adalah Wani Hasrita, jentera nombor 8 sebenarnya. Dan kita lihat sekali ini adalah Talitha Tan dengan jentera nombor 11. Dan ini dia favorites untuk hari ini iaitu Zizan Razak, jentera nombor 15. Dan ini dia Jana Nick dengan jentera nombor 18. Untuk promotional class, ini dia Syukri Ayah, jentera nombor 24. Dan ini adalah Ahiruddin dengan jentera nombor 37. Dan yes, another favorite untuk saya sebenarnya. Personal favorite, Nabil Ahmad, jentera nombor 83. Nabila Razali dengan jentera nombor 92. Dan ini dia Kai Bahar dengan jentera nombor 94. So itu dia. Jom kita lihat point system ya, Victor.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with this. It's going to be 20 points for those who are going to be able to finish in the first place, 15 points for those who finish in second, and 12 points for those who finish in third. So for those of you at home who are keeping count, it's going to be a 5-point split, a 3-point split, then a 2-point split, between 1, 2, 2 and 3, and then 3 and 4. Then from 4th onwards, it's going to be a 2-point split. So it's going to be 10 points, 8 points, 6 points, 4 points. And then finally from 7th until 10, it's only going to be a 1-point split. So basically, the higher up you're going to be able to finish, the more points you're going to be able to differentiate yourself from your rivals. So it's absolutely imperative that you finish as high up in the grid as possible.
Yeah, so itu dia semua adalah point system untuk race hari ini. And if semua okey, kita akan lihat track information dan juga car information, Victor.
Yeah, so
Yes.
just like round number 1, we're still coming back to the North Circuit, and by this time, I'm expecting that the drivers are going to be very, very familiar with this layout. I joked, in the first round that drivers are going to have quite a transition going to this because most drivers, who have been to Sepang are definitely quite used to the full layout of the track, but this time around, they're only going to be racing the halfway point on this track, so it's going to be all the way from turn 1. But once they get to turn 7, that's where things kind of get a little bit different for our guys, because instead of having to go the full length of the track, they're going to be cutting across the escape road and then coming back into the main straight. So that kind of shortens the whole track. In fact, the length of the circuit now is only going to be 2.7 kilometers instead of the usual like 5+ kilometers. So that means that it's going to be a little bit shorter. The racing action definitely is going to be a little bit tighter as a result. And as for the drivers though, especially for those who are returning from round number 1, being very familiar with this layout now, it's going to be up to them to see how much more extra performance or how much extra time can they extract out their laps, coming to this round.
Yeah, so jadi mereka tidak menggunakan tracks penuh. So kita akan guna separuh saja. So yes, seperti apa Victor mengatakan, they have already been familiarized with the track actually, Victor. So kita akan tak lama lagi kita akan masuk ke dalam qualifying session. Kita nak tengok siapa yang akan dapat timing yang cukup baik. But Victor, your personal favourite siapakah?
Oh, I mean, it's going to
Sebab
be
kita dah
tough.
bermusim-musim dah sebenarnya.
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, it's always so hard for me to make favorites, for these guys here because there's so many really good names here. You got, of course, Mitchell Chiao from Racing with 23 Motors is one of the guys I really want to see getting some good points. But definitely the biggest talking point for me has got to be Tengku Jan.
Tengku Jan,
I mean,
yes.
so dominant coming into round number 1, won both of the races, for the super sporting class. And mind you, race number 2 is he had to start from the back of the grid because it's a reverse grid. And the fact that he was still able to overtake everyone and still end up winning the race, this just show how much on another level Tengku Jan is, compared to a lot of the other drivers. But then coming to this round now, I'm expecting that, especially with the drivers, are going to be able to kind of like be able to compete against him, try to catch up with his pace and hopefully bring a little bit more competitiveness when it comes to this competition. So yeah, in any case, if you really want me to like choose someone, I really want to see what our new driver is going to be doing. Faizil Alang, he's going to be a new entry here for the M7 Japan project team, and I think you have a very personal connection with him, don't you?
Ya, beliau adalah seorang bukan saja seorang pelumba, beliau adalah pengulas juga. So he has been commentating few various racing events in Malaysia. So he's doing the both job. Dari pengulas dan juga pelumba.
Yeah. The
I
commentary.
mean he can share the experience lah.
Yeah.
Pada penonton, if you guys are watching his commentary and stuff, memang he can share a lot of input tentang in-depth racing dan sebagainya. But in the meantime, Victor, he is now racing. So kita kena perlu memberi fokus dan tengok siapakah yang akan jadi pemenang.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course.
I mean, as a commentator myself,
Yeah.
I'm definitely rooting for him in some capacity. It's great to see like a fellow colleague, be able to break into the scene just like this. So I'm really curious to see what he's going to be able to do because the M7 Japan project team, they're a really, really strong team. Shafiq Ali, he's been able to place second in race number 1, very consistent as well in race number 2, and expecting that Fazil is definitely going to have a lot of things to learn from Shafiq Ali himself, So, I mean, definitely Fazil is going to be in good hands.
Yeah, definitely. And on the other side, Victor, personally favourite kan daripada musim-musim sebelum ni, I was really looking forward for Mark Darwin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he has been spectacular. Tapi ada juga sedikit kesilapan from the previous races. And yeah, it didn't go well for him. But in terms of kedudukan, he is right now on the 3rd place.
Right.
So he's on the 3rd position. And if he's able to accumulate good points here, then I'm pretty sure he will be in a good run there, Victor.
I mean, the best result he had so far was a third place in race number 2. So the hope for me is like, especially with these guys who are really trying to compete in the championship, is always aim for that race win. You know, the race win guarantees you're going to have the maximum haul of points, and that's going to make sure that you can, you know, keep up with the top guys. And especially given that Tengku Jan is so far ahead in terms of points, simply because of his astounding performance in round number 1. There's a lot of ground for these drivers to cover here, and it's all going to start from this qualifying session as we start to see our drivers line up on the exit of the pits here. The red flag is still up as they are not allowed to get on the track yet, but rest assured they're going to be going out and they're going to be sending their times very, very soon.
Yes, kepada anda yang sangat-sangat menunggu sebenarnya nak tengok siapakah yang akan jadi pemenang dan juga mendapatkan timing yang cukup baik di dalam qualifying ni. Tunggu sedikit sebab kita akan mulakan qualifying ni tak lama lagi, Victor. Once everything is done, sebab mereka ni sedang melakukan last check up untuk jentera masing-masing, and if all goes to plan, all goes well, we will be starting our qualifying really soon.
Yeah, you can imagine how nervous you must be if you're the mechanic in the pits, right? Because, you know, you're going to be sending your guy out, you know, it's all in his hands right now to see whether or not he's going to be able to set a time. And the biggest worry, you know, as a mechanic is that he goes out for his, like, out lap and he comes back in and you're like, oh, what's going on? No, he's going to have to fix something. Maybe you need to change the tire pressure a little bit. I mean, there's so many things that goes into the preparation of these cars, you know. These guys, you know, I've been seeing them since yesterday. There's been so many things that, you know, guys be doing even up to the last minute, you know. I literally saw someone had his entire gearbox taken out of the car yesterday before the practice just so that they can actually change the gear ratios.
Yeah, talking about gearbox there, Victor, kalau kita lihat round sebelum ni, dalam musim ni, Brandon Paul had a problem, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yes, beliau mengalami sedikit problem on his gearbox. So nampaknya pit pun sudah dibuka dan they will be going for their qualifying session there, Victor.
And yeah, speaking of gearbox problems, it's kind of like one of the worst things can happen because you have to remember that in the Vios challenge, all the cars are balanced in terms of the power. So they all literally will have the same amount of power. They will also have balances in order to balance out the weight to ensure that the power to weight ratios is similar. So therefore, you know, what the mechanics will have to do is to ensure that the power delivery has to be optimal. So that's why if the driver is experiencing trouble with the gearbox, you know, you're not going to be very effectively be able to put all the powers to your wheels, and that's going to severely affect the kind of pace you can do on the track. So that's why, you know, even leading up to the practice, you know, you can see people always constantly messing with the gearbox. You know, they really want to make sure that it's in tip-top condition going into this qualifying session as, well, we'll see what these guys will be able to do.
Exactly. So itu dia, kita lihat on screen yang approaching tu, itu kita nampak Brandon Paul, jentera nombor 22 sebenarnya, Victor. And ini dia jentera nombor 39, iaitu William Ho. And yeah, he had a rough start actually, and let's see if he's able to get a good timing from here. Terus saja. And we are going all the way to the straight there, Victor.
Yeah, so they're going to be going out for the out lap. So normally, you know, when you first go on the track, you have to do a little bit of reconnaissance. You know, you got to see how the condition of the track is. You got to kind of get a sense of what the grip is like. And I think importantly is kind of like to get yourself into the zone.
Yes.
You know, drivers will always want to be able to do that because once you start to get into your rhythms, you know, it all becomes a matter of optimization, you know. So these outlaps can be very, very important. And now that William Ho has already gone for his outlap, I'm expecting this is going to be a little bit of a flying lap just to see what kind of a pace he's going to be able to do. And sending that first pace there, from that point on, it's going to be a matter of seeing how he can improve from that point. So getting this first lap out is going to be, you know, you don't usually expect to be able to hit the ground running straight off the bat. But if you do manage to get a really good time from your first out lap, especially when the tires are super fresh, sometimes it can become a time that's very difficult to beat by everybody else.
Exactly. So there you go, a look on the racer number 39, and that is William Ho from Toyotsu Racing. So if you look on the previous season, he had a pretty decent season actually, decent races before this. But right now, I guess, Victor, they really need to come up with something in order to get the points that they need.
Indeed, because like again...
Do you think Tengku Jan is able to catch up them?
Oh, yeah.
Or is he far ahead?
I mean, for one thing, he's definitely going to be coming in here as the guy to beat, right? So pretty much everyone else on the grid here is going to be looking to see whether or not they can compete against the Gujan's time or perhaps even beat him. But, looking at it so far, he's already sitting at 126.6. It's already pretty high up there, got to admit, but in the meantime, though, you're seeing Freddie Ang also getting himself up there, 126.643. And Fazil Ailang, he's getting himself up into third right now on the leaderboard here with 126.7. So, I mean, by this measure here, I would say, given it's only a single 10 split or something like that, I would say that it's actually quite not out of the realm of possibility that one of these guys might actually beat the Gujan in terms of time.
Yep, and that is really, really true there, Victor. And let's see if they're able to do that. So, pada anda yang baru saja masuki ke dalam live stream ini, anda sedang menonton Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge Season 4 round kedua, dan ini adalah official qualifying untuk Super Sporting Class. Dan seperti anda yang lihat di dalam skrin, jentera nombor 21, itu kita lihat Boy Wong. Oh, he had a really good season there, Victor. He's been quite good as well. Yeah, there was a little bit of he struggled a little bit, but he's able to catch up there, Victor.
Well, he's right now about half a second behind our current leader, which, by the way, has already changed hands to Hayden Heikal. He's set at 126.2, so that's 4/10 already faster than Gujan at this point. But yeah, I mean, Boy Wong shows at least he has consistency, That I think sometimes even if you're not able to get a good qualifying time, if you're still able to get a decent average pace throughout the race there, that can actually help you climb up certain places. But normally you want to be able to place yourself as high up on the grid as possible through the qualifying sessions. So, I mean, Boy Wong definitely will see whether or not he'll be able to get himself out of position 6 right now. I mean, currently he's just behind Gujan and Faizil Alang, and he's really not far off either of those. In fact, I think if he can maybe improve, maybe just 110.
There's a few seconds behind him.
Yeah, just literally a blink behind Faizil Alang's time. So just a little bit improvement, maybe clip a little bit of the apex over here, exit a little bit faster out through here. That's going to add maybe a 10th of a second. That's going to be enough to gain an extra place.
Yep, so there you go on jentera nombor 81, and that is none other than Hayden Haikal yang baru saja Victor memberitahu sedikit informasi. So on the other side we see Mark Darwin is on the second position there. Oh no, he dropped it down. That means Hayden Haikal took it up there, Victor.
Oh no, actually it's Freddie Ang.
Freddie
Ang
Ang
just put himself up there at 126.0. Are we going to be seeing these guys break the 125 barriers soon? I think that could be on the cards though, because Freddie Ang is already quite on the pace.
Yeah, and he's been really good there so far. Dan ini dia jentera nombor 3 itu Freddie Ang. We just were talking about him, dan beliau pun terus di dalam tempat pertama so far dengan 1.26.15. That is the fastest so far di dalam qualifying ini. Tetapi Victor, we still have a long way to go.
Indeed.
Kita mempunyai 23 minit lagi, and let's see if they're able to hit their best timing and if they're able to get their best starting grid there.
So here's the thing about the tires for these cars. We're riding on 15-inch wheels. These are practically the same kind of wheels that you can actually buy, straight off the shelf in your local mechanic shop. So these road tires, they tend to behave quite differently compared to race tires, in that they tend to reach their optimal peak quite early on. And then from that point on, it becomes a game of management. You're going to have to manage your tire temperatures, and eventually, especially when the grid starts to run out, you're going to be sliding and causing a car to go off track a lot, like just what we saw here.
Yeah, they're pushing the car there, Victor.
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen. And it's special information for you guys. It's like now you're noticing a lot of these guys going off on turn number 8, and that's because this time around in round number 2, track limits are no longer going to be enforced at turn number 8. So drivers, they're going to have free reign to use as much of the track as possible at that turn. So that's why you're going to be seeing a lot of guys, going all the way out there just to get an extra bit of momentum. That's the thing about driving a little bit wide, is that even though you're kind of off the track a little bit, but because the average speed they're carrying is so high, it ends up you're still going to be faster on average through that section. So that's why drivers like Freddie Ang, for example, he got most of his time from that really good sector number 2. In fact, he got the purple sector during that lap itself. So it's really important for drivers to get everything right there, and and really lean into your strengths, you know. So that's what Freddie Ang so far been able to do that. Mark Darwin though, he's already in the 125.969, and wow, that's a really good time to see there for Mark Darwin, car number 63.
Ya, daripada Laser Motor Racing, iaitu Mark Darwin yang the fastest man so far. The fastest man so far di dalam 21 minit ini. But Freddie Ang is right there as well. Bukanlah jauh mana pun. But there's still a long way to go. But if you look on the other races there, Victor, you see Faizil Alang jatuh ke dalam tangga ke-6. That means Brandon Paul has taken over. And he's been a little bit more faster than Faizil Alang so far. Hayden Haikal in number 4. And Tengku Jan is catching up as well there, Victor.
Yeah, he's already been able to set a good time. It's only about a tenth behind Mark Darwin, so he's definitely in the 126, the low 126, in fact. So he's definitely chasing up, and you know, like I said, he's the guy to beat. You know, from everyone in the Sport point class, you know, it's basically painted a target right onto Tengku Jan's back, and they know exactly who they want to beat and where exactly he is.
Yeah, dan Victor, you can give us a little bit in detail tentang genre yang kita gunakan hari ini.
Yeah, so this is a Toyota Vios, and what's kind of special, or rather not special about this car
Bukan
is that,
Vios biasa-biasa ya guys.
yeah, because even though it does look like a Vios on the outside, inside is completely stripped out.
Yes.
You can see the roll cage on the inside, but I can tell you, like, the interiors have been taken out, those seats have all been taken out. It's big to make the car as light as possible. In fact, the car only weighs about 1.1 tons, you know, in all its configuration. And that means that, you know, performance-wise, that gives it such good power-to-weight ratio that it actually is faster compared to the stock Vios. Even though it's still the same engine, the drivers are, the teams are not actually allowed to do modifications on the engine itself. So even though these are looking like race cars, the engine is still practically the same as the engine you can find in your road-going Vios.
So itu dia sedikit tentang genre yang digunakan untuk hari ini. Ini bukan Vios yang biasa-biasa, tetapi bolehlah we can say it's quite tweaked inside there, Victor.
I mean, one of the goals for the Vios Challenge is to really try to bring, you know, that kind of a street racing kind of ideal, but then actually put it into the professional racetrack setting. And, you know, doing races like this in Sepang, but they also do races on street courses as well, you know, to simulate, you know, the kind of conditions you will find when you're racing on the actual roads. So the thing is that the cars are specifically designed, you know, to really be as close as possible to the actual stock cars. So in all intents and purposes, you know, you can consider this our own homebrewed Malaysian version of stock car racing here in Sepang.
Yeah, so hanya 19 minit saja yang berbaki di dalam official qualifying untuk Super Sporting Class, dan kita lihat genre nombor 81 iaitu Hayden Haikal. And what is surprising right now, Victor, is that Michelle Chia sudah pun berada di dalam tangga ketiga. So he's the third fastest man so far. And Tengku Jan has dropped there, Victor.
Yeah, Tengku Jan is, now you can see that, like, a lot of people have really improved a lot, you know, over the break here. And it's no surprise, you know, there's been plenty of time between today and the last round for teams to really work on their cars and kind of dial in the performance. You know, I was speaking to Brandon Paul yesterday after practice, and, you know, he's been very satisfied with what his new title sponsor, Royal 47 Racing, has done to really improve the package that he's going to be bringing to round number 2. You know, the power delivery is so much better in his car. He's really hoping to be able to, you know, use that to his advantage here and hopefully get a really good result here in round number 2. And that's really true all across the board, you know. Teams have really had the time, you know, to get really familiar with this piece of machinery. They've already literally understood all the ins and outs of racing using the Vios chassis. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised that Tengku Jan is going to be struggling a lot, you know, in round number 2, because the amount of learnings that a lot of these teams have already carried from round number 1, it's already been so immense, you know. And given that we've already been doing this for 4 seasons, you know, we've got teams here that have a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge about working on these cars, so they really know down to a T what they need to do in order to get these cars completely dialed in to allow these drivers to perform their absolute best.
Ya, kalau kita lihat di dalam tempat kedua, Michelle Chia has been the second fastest man so far. Let's see if he's able to beat other people's timing. On the other side, ada sedikit perubahan, or there is a little bit of changes and also some tweaking things going on in the pit lanes. But Right now, kita lihat iaitu jentera nombor 23. That means Mitchell Chia is the fastest so far, Victor.
Oh yeah.
Yes, dengan 1.25.618. Itu dia. Mitchell Chia. Daripada 23 motors, or shall I say 23 motors. And let's see if the rest of the other races is able to, beat his timing. Mark Darwin is there as well on P2, and on P3 we see Friendly Ang. And Tengku Jan, of course, Victor, we have 16 minutes more. But so far, it's going good for Mitchell Chia.
Oh, his last lap, that was so good. I mean, purple sector 1, purple sector 2. And I think this is very close to like the theoretical ideal time, that we can set here at the North Sepang track. I've yet to see anyone kind of like go way under the 124s, but the fact that Mitchell Chia, at this, especially at the halfway point now, where a lot of these drivers will tend to either have already overheated the tires or have already gone way past the ideal like grip level for the tires. So the fact that Mitchell Chia has done so well to, to actually string together such a good lap and really put himself way up there. I mean, he's 3/10 faster than Mark Darwin, who was absolutely flying, early on in the session. So, I mean, now, the floodgates are open. It's going to be up to everyone else to see who else can also break into that barrier.
Exactly. So itu dia, jentera nombor 70 iaitu Faizil Alang daripada M7 Japan Project Team. Dan beliau bukan sajalah seorang pelumba, beliau adalah seorang pengulas juga. And let's see his actual skills on the track there, Victor.
Well, unfortunately, he's going to be diving straight into the pits there, so no flying lap for him on this round. But, so far he's been able to set a 1:26.7, which is respectable, But the thing is that for qualifying, unfortunately, that is not quite good enough here to break into the top 5. So certainly going back to the pits there to see if he can do some additional adjustments. And that's the thing, as a driver, you're going to be communicating a lot with your mechanics. You're going to be feeding back to them, letting you know that maybe my car's feeling a little bit loose on turn 4 maybe, or maybe around turn 5 I'm feeling a little bit unstable. This kind of data is very, very vital to be shared with your mechanics, because that way they can know that maybe I need to do a slight adjustment here. Maybe I need to make the springs a little bit stiffer. Maybe I need to make the temperature, the tire pressures a little bit more ideal for your conditions. So there are a lot of things, 101 things that can go wrong, or rather 101 things can change on the car, and the input from the driver is the number one place, the best source of information for mechanics to know exactly what to do to tune your car in.
Ya, itu adalah salah satu faktor yang sangat-sangat penting sebenarnya, Victor, untuk pelumba dan juga pasukan yang manage pelumba itu, sebab they need to get everything right for the racer. And I think this is the best time to do it, sebab masih lagi kita mempunyai 14 minit yang terakhir di dalam official qualifying. Tapi di dalam 14 minit ini kita nampak Mitchell Chia masih lagi pelumba yang terpantas di dalam qualifying ini. Beliau berada di dalam tangga pertama dengan 1.25.618. So far, no one has come closer for his timing there, Victor.
Yeah, it's going to be a very hard time to beat, to be honest, because again, everything went right for Mitchell Chia to be able to set the time,
Yeah, he had 2 purple sectors, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So typically you see like people be able to set maybe a purple sector 1 or purple sector 2, and they'll be able to get on the board. But when you get both of those right, it's when drivers do that, it's kind of called like stringing it all together, So Mitchell definitely will be smiling all the way going back to the pits, because he knows that he's just set pretty much what he could consider the most perfect lap that he could do here at the qualifying. So hopefully you'll be able to stay up on that board. There's still definitely a possibility for either Mark Darwin or Freddie or even Tengku Jan to beat that time, because they're not too far off. The thing is that they're going to find the extra 3/10s and 4/10s, and sometimes, especially on a track that's this short, there's not a lot of places, they can find and steal that extra bit of time. So really, it's really down to the drivers to identify where the weaknesses are and see how they can kind of improve from that place.
Yeah, especially in this exit there, Victor. Some of the racers go out of the track, and we have seen a lot of incidents happen here before. And that is one of the exits that the racers really need to be careful of. And there you go, Mitchell Chia, the racer number 23, is leading so far with one of the best timings so far, Victor. That is yet to be beaten by anyone, and I guess that guarantees him in the top 5.
Yeah, probably will be guaranteed in the top 5. If he's lucky, he probably will be able to stay on the podium.
Yeah.
And if he's really, really lucky, then he'll be way on the top. But, like again, the 3/10s, 4/10s, it's still quite a lot to climb. And that does mean that Mark Darwin, Freddie, and Tengku Jan really have to, search for the extra bit of strength there to try to get the extra time. So And to your point about getting everything right in this qualifying session, you got to remember the setup that they're going to be finishing this qualifying session is the same setup they're going to be using for the race. So that doubly adds to the pressure here to get everything right for this qualifying session, because not only is that going to determine how high up on the grid you're going to be able to do, but it also is going to affect your pace during the actual race itself. Not just race number 1, race number 2 as well is going to be affected from the setup that you're going to be setting here in qualifying. So, and once the qualifying session is over, your setup is literally set in stone. The cars are going to be sent straight to parc fermé. Mechanics are not going to be allowed to work on those cars anymore. They can't even do minor adjustments. They can't even change bolts or even the seats. So yeah, everything has to be just as it is at the end of qualifying here, and the drivers just have to deal with that for the whole weekend.
Ya, so itu dia jentera nombor 38 iaitu Kenny Lee daripada Kegani Racing. Dan beliau kini berada di dalam tangga ke-10 sebenarnya. Not the fastest man. Yes, but Syafiq Ali juga, Victor, has dropped down all the way to number 11 there, Victor.
Syafiq is like the most surprising thing for me here. I mean, 1.6 seconds off of the pace of Mitchell Chia.
Something went wrong, maybe?
I mean, that's definitely it's got to be something wrong there, because knowing Syafiq Ali, he's a very strong racer. He's very much on the pace, and the fact that he's struggling to even get out of the 127s here, I mean, it just goes to show that there might be some nagging issues with his car. And that's kind of the worst thing, as a driver, is that you turn up for the qualifying, you got everything kind of like dialed in for yourself, but then the car just doesn't give you the pace that you're looking for, and it's super frustrating, because sometimes it may not even be your fault as a driver. It may be just some nagging mechanical issue that the mechanics aren't able to identify. So I mean, the problem is that he's only got about 10 minutes left in his qualifying to kind of figure out what exactly is wrong, and I mean, time is literally running out, and I'm worried that if he's not going to be able to fix that, he's going to be really gonna have a really difficult weekend here up ahead for him.
Ya, so boleh mengatakan masa itu emas lah, Victor. So, seperti yang kita lihat di dalam skrin, Tengku Jan adalah seorang favourites di dalam race ini sebab beliau berada di dalam tangga pertama di dalam overall racing, dan beliau mempunyai experience yang cukup baik, pengalaman yang cukup luar biasa, dan beliau masih lagi berbisa kalau kita nak cakap as detail as I can. So itu dia di dalam beliau berada di dalam P4 dia, Victor, and his timing is 1.26.109. I mean, it's not very close to Michelle Chia or Mark Darwin, but there is still 9 minutes left here, Victor. Yeah.
If you notice on the left rear window of the 61 car, which is the Jan's car, you can see that it's actually a 40-kilogram ballast is added to his car. So these ballasts will usually be added to the championship leaders here to kind of like nerf their performance when it comes to the subsequent rounds here. And because Tengku Jan is the leader of the championship right now, so that extra added weight, not only affects his, his overall lap times. I mean, generally it does mean that Tengku Jan is driving a car that's going to be heavier compared to everyone else on the grid. And that sandbagging, makes it so that it doesn't allow Tengku Jan to run away too far in the championship there. It kind of slows him down a little bit to allow a little bit more competitiveness, especially amongst the top 5 here. So that's also a reason why Tengku Jan is not able to kind of dominate the way that he's normally used to, because the extra added weight now is really affects your performance, because your car being heavier means that it's going to be a little bit less nimble through the corners. It's going to accelerate a little bit slower off the line. A lot of things get affected once you add some extra weight in the car. So the thing is that Tengku Jan, I know that for a fact that he's a very experienced racer. He knows that you have to kind of handle the car a little bit differently. But the fact that he's still able to keep up with the top 5 there truly is a testament to the skill level that he has as a driver.
Exactly. So hanya 7 minit yang terakhir di dalam official qualifying untuk Super Sporting. Dan kita pun sedang lihat siapakah yang akan dapat timing yang cukup biasa, yang cukup hebat. So di dalam P pertama kita nampak Michelle Chia dengan 1.25.618. Di P2 kita nampak Mark Darwin. P3 kita nampak Freddy Ang. Di dalam P keempat kita nampak Tengku Jan. Dan P kelima adalah Hayden Haikal. So ini adalah top 5 pelumba yang terpantas di dalam 7 minit ini sebenarnya. Dan kalau kita lihat daripada P6 hingga ke P11, kita nampak Brandon Paul, P7 Boy Wong, P8 Faizil Alang, P9 Shafiq Ali, which is quite a surprising actually. Ada juga, we are not sure what happened to him, but kita akan lihat sebentar lagi kalau tak silap saya. Dan di dalam P10 kita nampak William Ho, P11 adalah Kenny Lee. But looking at the sector 1 timing, Michelle Chia 33.869. That is outstanding, man.
That's quite exciting.
Yeah,
but,
that is some time actually.
It's not his actual like fastest. I think his fastest was like 32 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is that Mitchell has decided that he's not going to get any better than 125.6. That's for sure. So he's already at the pits right now, just probably chilling, just keeping an eye out. I think for what Mark Darwin or Freddie Ang are going to be able to do. But I can tell you that all across the board right now, the average time seems to be dropping quite a lot here, and that's no surprise. We're already in the last third of this qualifying session here, and by this stage, the track is going to be quite hot. Drivers going to find it a lot difficult to kind of manage the temperature in the tires, and especially with those guys who've been out there for quite a while, the tires are definitely already way past their optimal point. So at this point now, it's just going to be more of a battle for those guys in the mid parts here to see whether they can try to improve their time. I can say it for sure that Shafiq Ali has already improved quite a bit. He's already been able to get into the 126.7, so he's matched up his time now to Fazil Alang. So I think there's going to be a bit of a relief on his end here. But given that they're going to be starting fairly back in the grid there, he's going to have a lot of work when it comes to race number 1, that's for sure.
Ya, betul tu Victor. So kita lihat jentera nombor 39 that is none other than William Ho yang baru saja keluar daripada pit lane adalah Boy Wong, jentera nombor 21. Dan that seems like he had a last setup there, Victor. The last 5 minutes actually, maybe his last final setup to see if the car is going according to his way and stuff. But yeah, di dalam P pertama is still Michelle Chia that is leading the race so far, Victor.
Yeah, I mean,
His timing has been the best so far.
Doesn't seem like anyone else has been able to get
No one is getting
close.
closer.
Mark Darwin is getting pretty good though. I mean, he set up 125.918, so that's actually improved his time quite significantly. It's not enough to knock Mitchell Chia off the perch though, but his last lap being a 125.9. I mean, Mark Darwin is certainly showing a lot of potential when it comes to his average pace here. So I can expect that the race number 1 probably is going to be quite a battle here between Mitchell and Mark.
Yeah, he's getting closer there. As earlier on we were talking about, there's not much of changes from Michelle Chia to touch the timings of others, but right now Mark Darwin is giving him some sort of battle there, Victor.
Indeed, and the thing is that as the session goes on, it's going to be the pressure just going to get turned up because you're going to have one last shot here to get your times out and hopefully be able to slingshot your way up further up the grid. But the thing is, like for the guys in the mid to lower cards there, especially the M7 project team, Faisal and Shafiq Ali certainly are going to have quite a lot to work on when it comes to race number 2. But for Hayden Haikal, Brendan Paul, it seems like they've been able to get themselves quite up there. I mean, Brendan especially, has had a quite abysmal round number 1. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, getting a new title sponsor here in Royal 47, is going to definitely add a lot of value to his team here, and hopefully that's going to give him a lot of extra spirit here. And hopefully this round number 2 is going to end up being very good for Brendan Paul.
Yep, so nampaknya 3 minit yang terakhir di dalam official qualifying. Masih lagi kita lihat di dalam P pertama, Michelle Chia adalah pelumba yang terpantas, diikuti oleh Mark Darwin di dalam P kedua. P ketiga adalah Freddie Ang, P keempat adalah Tengku Jan, P kelima Hayden Haikal, P keenam Brandon Paul, P ketujuh adalah Boy Wong, Faizal Alang di dalam P ke-8, Shafiq Ali di dalam P ke-9. Seperti apa Victor mengatakan, banyak lagi improvement harus dilakukan oleh para pelumba daripada pasukan M7 Japan Project Team. Dan di dalam P10 kita nampak William Ho, P11 adalah Kenny Lee. So I guess this is the time for them to take it all and to set it the best there, Victor.
Yeah, it's going to take every ounce of energy here for these jet drivers to finish off this last last session. I mean, imagine they've been out on the track here for half an hour.
Half an hour,
and
yes.
You imagine in the sweltering heat here, it's definitely going to be very, very hard on these drivers. And
You know, talking about heat, right? We did have some information about the weather today.
oh yeah, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
Throughout this weekend here, there's a 70% chance of rain. It may not
Yes.
seem like that at the moment because there doesn't seem to be a lot of clouds out here. But you know, on the drive coming to Sepang here, it was raining really, really hard. You know, I was
Yes.
quite worried that we're going to be having a wet qualifying session here. Seems to have passed us by here. The track is nice, dry, and very, very hot, especially with the sun blaring down on that. But that doubly adds to the kind of strain that's going to be on these drivers, because you got to imagine these guys are racing in the sweltering heat here. The cars don't really have air conditioning. They do have vents that allow air to enter through, but these are literally the air that comes from the track itself, which tends to be very hot and humid. So you got to imagine that, you know, especially during the race itself, you know, it's one part going to be a battle of skill, but it's also going to be a battle of endurance. You know, you're going to be sitting there in your
Yeah.
fully kitted up race overalls. It's going to be very, very hot. You're going to be sweating the whole time, and it's super, super physical. I mean, there's a reason why even the top drivers in the world in Formula One, they consider Sepang to be one of the toughest races in the world, simply because of the heat level and the amount of strain it really puts on your body as a driver.
Ya, betul tu Victor, dan boleh mengatakan it's quite sad sebab there's no more F1 di dalam Sepang. Yeah, the last was back in 2017 dan yeah, it's been some many years actually without F1 here, tetapi apa yang paling best adalah walaupun tak ada F1 tetapi kita masih ada Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, musim demi musim, round demi round, and we are here, man.
Yeah, 30
Yes.
seconds left, ladies and gentlemen. So drivers now are going to have one last shot here, especially with those who are still out here to go in and put in the last laps. We've got car number 38, that's Kenny Lee right now leading these last pack. Faizal Ala in car 70 is actually following quite closely behind him. Car number 81 now is just gone past turn 2, so he still will have a chance to go for another fast lap here. Hopefully he'll be able to improve his time, because Hayden Haikal currently is sitting in 5th position here, and you know, with Teguh Jan being just in front of him, and really within range for him to actually overtake in terms of time. They're basically in the 126.1. So if he's going to be able to improve a little bit on this session here as he's getting a bit close, hopefully he'll be able to overtake Teguh Jan to take 4th place. But yeah, as the drivers now should be coming around, the checkered flag is already out on the start line, so it signals that anyone who comes across the line is going to finish their laps here. Car number 21 has just got past the line. Car number 81 now is just coming through turn 6, so he's the last guy literally to set his time. Car number 21, that's Boy Wong, currently is just finished his lap here. It's only good enough right now for about 7th place here. Not quite lucky number 7, but definitely a performance is going to be good enough for him, hopefully for the race.
Exactly that, Victor. So I still feel that Michelle Chia is going to be the fastest one in this race, and beliau berada di dalam P pertama, and I guess nobody has touched his timing so far. Dia mempunyai 618 sebenarnya. Tersasul sedikit. But yeah, he is the fastest so far, man. And followed by Mark Darwin on the other side, and di dalam kalau kita lihat di dalam screen itu adalah Boy Wong yang kini berada di dalam P ke-7. And I guess it's a decent time, but not. He did not improve enough to beat Brandon Paul's timing there, Victor.
Well, sometimes, you know, the improvement may not be necessarily to you know, beat another driver. Sometimes it's more about, you know, setting a good pace for yourself, you know. And you know, the metrics that you're going to be able to get from this qualifying session still applies to race number 1, simply because the setup is going to be the same for the cars. So whatever times you're theoretically going to be able to set during the session, that can kind of give an indication of what kind of pace you can expect going into the race. So sometimes, you know, even though drivers may not be able to improve their qualifying, you know, sometimes going for these last shots here just allows them to dial themselves in just a little bit more just before the race here. So looks like qualifying has just about ended here, ladies and gentlemen, as drivers now are going to be going for a little bit of a practice start. But safe to say, I mean, Mitchell Chia, what a qualifying session for him, that's for sure.
Yep, sangat-sangat baik daripada Michelle Chia yang menghabiskan qualifying ini di dalam pole position sebenarnya, dan beliau akan berada di dalam P pertama untuk start tak lama lagi. So itu dia highlights kita lihat sekali lagi daripada official qualifying untuk Super Sporting class. And it's been a good one there, Victor. Although we see lots of improvements from lots of other racers, and Michelle Chia was the one that surprised me actually.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one that I feel has kind of been coming, because speaking to him as well during yesterday's practice, you can get the sense that he was feeling very, very confident coming to this one here, because he knows that he's definitely going to be up there with a lot of guys in the Super Sporting class, and the fact that today everything just came together so beautifully for him to set a 125.6 here. I mean, it's just the cherry on top. So hopefully he's going to be able to take massive advantage of that. I mean, being pole position means they're literally starting in front of everyone else on the grid. That's a huge advantage, and that's why a lot of these drivers really are competing for that #1 spot. So this time it's Mitchell Chia who will have the full honors here, and let's hope that he's going to be able to translate this into a good result going into race #1.
Exactly. So there you go on P. I mean, this is basically the highlights actually, and that is none other than Tengku Jan, and yes, number 61. You see him has been absolutely amazing so far, and there you go from the Lagamas Toyota team. That is none other than Freddie Ang there, Victor. Yeah.
So the thing is that sometimes drivers love to kind of trail each other because on the one hand, you're doing a bit of scouting. You're reconnaissing your other drivers to kind of see what their driving line is, and to get a sense of how their pace will be like. And that information can be useful for you later on in the race because it gives you an idea about which points on the tracks can you start to attack these guys. Where you're going to be a little bit faster than him, and maybe you can try to use that to set up an overtake on the next corner. So sometimes, and also following other drivers during a qualifying session allows you to actually take advantage of slipstreams. So sometimes following behind means that you can just be a little bit faster, and then somehow will just give you an advantage going into the qualifyings.
Yeah, and there you go, the fastest man so far. He has set a timing which is 1.25.618. He'll be starting off on the pole, and that is none other than Michelle Chia. So it has been so amazing, Victor, the qualifying session.
Yeah, it's been a good one so far, with Mitchell Chia being on the board, Mark Darwin in second, Freddie Ong in third. It is a really good session here for the Super Sporting class. It's great to see a lot of these guys are able to break into the 126s. In fact, a lot of guys, especially in the top 10, are really within range of the 125. So hopefully this means that race #1 is going to be super exciting.
Yes, very exciting. Sangat hebat. Kita pun sangat teruja nak tengok siapakah yang akan jadi pemenang di dalam race untuk Super Sporting class. So in the meantime, Victor, I am...
Sure.
Yeah.
Capabilities. And we're not slowing down. We evolve to satisfy from within, to get the adrenaline racing. To bring extraordinary to the everyday. Take on the exhilaration. New Vios GR Sport, built to thrill.
He has to really deep.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a big hit. That's a big hit there. And the moment it crashed out, that would be the end of the race for sure. Oh, Eric Young, that's a very bad slide there. And that certainly is going to cost him a lot of time.
It's all right, tapi tidak apa, kita fokus pada race. Nombor 11.
Talitha Tan.
Ya, Talitha Tan. Sedikit kita nampak kontak daripada beliau, tapi tidak apa. 16 lap to go sebenarnya dalam perlumbaan ini di promotional class. Oh, nampaknya spin daripada nombor 83, iaitu Nabil Ahmad. Izan Razak kekal berada di P1 dan ini adalah satu momen yang sangat-sangat terbaik di situ. Oh, terkena langgar nampaknya. Itu kereta bernombor 24, itu Syukri Yaya kehilangan posisi beliau. daripada kereta nombor 18 Aitu Jana Nick. Oh, aduh, kehilangan.
Yeah, it looks like he has to go a little bit wide here. That actually gives a little bit of opportunity for car number 4, Amir Harris, to try to attack him around the outside. No! Someone has gone backwards on the track. The contact here between car 25 and 27. That's Troy Iman and Putra Adam, and they're left stranded here at T1.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are coming to you live from the Sepang International Circuit. My name is Harris. Alongside with me is Victor, and we are going to be your race commentary for today. We already had one of the practice lap, the practice sessions being done already. So, what do you think? Is there enough preparation being done by our drivers here today?
Well, if anything, I would say they're really over-prepared coming into this one here. I mean, if yesterday's kind of like practice was any indication, you know, a lot of these guys are coming in today with a lot of confidence, you know. And that's no surprise, you know, we're coming back into round number 2. It's basically a kind of a repeat of round number 1, given that we're racing on the same track, on similar kind of conditions. So for a lot of these guys, it's kind of like a rehash of things they've already learned from round number 1. So therefore, we're kind of seeing that, you know, especially in the Super 40 class, things are getting very competitive for these guys. You know, especially with Teguh Jan having a lot of weight on his car, does mean that he's going to have a little bit of a tougher time this time around. But especially for the rookie class, who we're going to be seeing qualifying very, very soon, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how much they've improved a lot, you know, from the previous round. Because remember, you know, the last round was kind of like the first introduction for a lot of these kids, you know, to the realm of the Vios Challenge. And given that this is going to be the second round, the second time they're going to be here in Sepang in order to kind of race, I'm really curious to see whether they're going to be taking a lot of the learnings from round 1 and actually bringing a lot better performance coming into round number 2.
I totally agree. Now, let's talk a little bit about what is in store in the rookie classes. Do we have any outliers for us to look through? Because it has been told that we have had some newer additions in a few of the super sporting classes, and maybe I think even the rookie classes, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, for the most part, the rookies are still the same guys. I mean, we got Mika Hakimi, Amir Harris, Naki Aslan, of course, who's currently the leader in the rookie class, Putra Adam, and Juan He. So I think there's not really much about outliers, but I think one driver that's going to be certainly looking to try to improve a lot, you know, compared to round 1 is definitely going to be Putra Adam. I mean, he's not been able to touch the podium at all through the previous round. And, you know, the thing is that he actually really has struggled a lot in round number 1. Yeah, as you can see in the point system here, you know, Nakib Aslan is no doubt the absolute dominant force here in the rookie class. You know, just like Teguh Jan, he won both race number 1 and race number 2 for the rookie class, so therefore he sits on top here with 43 points. Amir Harris, he's quite close to him as well. You know, have the best result of second place in race number 1, and that had given him quite a bit of a point haul to keep him ahead of Juan He, you know. But the thing is that with the points being so competitive from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you know, I'm thinking that, you know, this qualifying session here is definitely going to be so competitive because, you know, these drivers here, they've really had a long break, you know, between round 1 and round number 2 to really kind of like learn a lot and to kind of observe, you know, all the mistakes and all the kind of things that went wrong during the races. So they're no doubt going to be coming into this race a lot more prepared and definitely have a lot more, you know, things that they can bring to the table, you know, especially considering that they're still going to be racing alongside the super sporting class regardless. So this qualifying session, you know, it is still going to be a good session for these guys. It's going to get them a chance now to stretch their legs a little bit, you know, after a long break. And, you know, I'm really excited to see what these guys, these kids can do.
I'm really excited. A lot of young talent being shown here in the rookie classes, and I do believe that with Nakib Aslan, if I'm not mistaken, right, that was ahead of everybody. It is going to be interesting to look at here, as we are going to be looking at the track here. Rookie class official qualifying about to begin with a total of 16 points ahead is going to be Nakib Aslan, whereas in 2nd and 3rd spot is still very much close. Between some of our drivers here. If I'm not mistaken, it was between Putra Adam and Amir Harris, or Juan He, if I'm not mistaken. I think about 2 to 3 points differences in total.
Yeah, so the drivers now going out on track. So The thing is that, with the super boring class already gone out, the track definitely has been warmed up quite a bit now for these rookie class guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if they will be able to set some good times right off the bat. But equally at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised as well to see a big shakeup, in the order, because, I think that thing has been quite a bit coming. And, knowing that these guys are still very young, they definitely... The youthness definitely gives you a bit of advantage, because it means that you're going to be able to learn a lot of things very, very fast compared to veteran drivers. So no doubt, I mean, again, these rookies are all being coached by one of the very best, that we have in Malaysia. Alex Young has been, alongside these guys through and through throughout this season. The kids, they've been learning so much from him. For some of these guys, it's been very funny as well. So because for some of these kids, they've never driven a car that actually has a stick shift before. Like, have you ever driven a stick shift, Nick?
Yeah, I've had, but I think a lot of these kids have more hours driving a stick shift than I do. So
You'll be surprised, because for a lot of these kids, the first time they sat in the Vios, they were so surprised to see a stick shift, compared to what they're normally used to, which is like a sequential shifter or a pedal shift. Because some of these kids, they come from the formula classes, as a background, or they come from the karting, where there's not really a gear system for you to kind of play around with. So the thing is that one of the things that these kids had to kind of learn, literally, is how to drive stick. The first day they came into the Vios Challenge.
well, stick has actually conquered a lot of drivers. Professional or otherwise, for sure. But all jokes aside here, the weather is very wonderful. We did have some predictions as to the weather actually favoring a little bit of rain, so we might actually predict a little bit of wetness on the track. That might come later in the evening, but for now, at least for the qualifying rounds, it has been relatively dry. Sun is starting to come up, and I'm looking at the heat that's slowly dissipating from the track. So it is going to be a nice warm day today. And for those of you who are not in the know, this is a closed-off event. All SOPs are being followed, and for the majority of it, it is going to be everyone here is going to be vaccinated. So that's just a talk about safety issues being taken here by Toyota at the Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival.
I mean, safety is always number one priority when it comes to motorsports, right? And that still doubly becomes more apparent, especially during this pandemic. So lots of steps have been taken, by the organizing committee as well as Toyota's end, to ensure that, this is a very safe event for everyone involved. Everyone from participants to broadcast, even us casters as well. We had to be tested, when we came in here, and we have very strict rules about the bubbles. We have very designated zones for each individual team as well as crew. So it's making sure that live events can still continue on even with the situation being as it is in Malaysia. Even though the pandemic seems to be on the going on the down right about now, it's still high enough that we still want to be able to ensure that we can run a good event here, with all the SOPs in place, and ensure a nice, good session for everyone involved. So, nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 5 minutes into this qualifying session. So far, we've got Mika Hakimi setting a 126.6. That's very competitive there, especially when you consider that Mitchell's time was also right around there initially. So hopefully they'll be able to break that into the 125s. But so far, Mika Hakimi being a little bit higher compared to everyone else.
All right, very revealing indeed in terms of the time. We do see that between Mika Hakimi and Putra Adam, not much of difference here in terms of the best times. Looking to see them, like you have previously said, push into the 125 mark. We do see Putra Adam already crossing the finish line, getting another timing of 126, 867th of a second. So I do think that those timings are starting to improve in favor of Putra Adam. However, Mika Hakimi still remains ahead, an elusive target, or in fact an elusive time for them to beat, as their majority of everyone is going to be crossing turn number 1. Let's talk a little bit about the track here. 9 total turns here in the North Paddock, if I'm not mistaken, and we do have some special rulings for one of these turns, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. So
that we need to talk about here to properly, how to say, educate our viewers at home.
So yeah, the big kind of a big talking point amongst a lot of teams are about track limits. So yeah, track limits still a problem. You know, even here in the Vios Challenge, it's also a problem in other racing series as well. And you know, here in Sepang is no exception. So this round here is a little bit different compared to round number 1. So if you remember, in round 1 there was track limits being enforced on turn 8. So this time around it is no longer going to be the case. You know, drivers are going to be free to use turn 8 as much as they want. They can go off on the grass if they like to. They can go all off on the run off. They can just basically do that, and track limits are not enforced. You know, the stewards are not going to be looking there. They can just do whatever they want. And the reason for that is simply because of the interest of safety, you know, surprisingly, because the problem is that when track limits were enforced very strictly on turn number 8, that kind of forced a lot of drivers to hug the inside a lot closer than normal. And what tends to happen is that drivers will dip their tires into the grassy area on the inside of the track. And that becomes a big problem, especially if it ends up becoming wet on the track. That little ditch there that becomes formed by the tires going over, that eventually becomes mud. And that mud is going to end up affecting the track. It's going to cause the surface to become very slippery, and that becomes a safety issue, you know, in the end. So that's why the teams got together. They had a meeting, you know, together with the stewards as well as the race director, and they made a decision that okay, from for round 2 onwards, we're no longer going to enforce track limits on turn number 8. You're going to be free to go out as wide as you can. The only place though that there's still track limits going to be enforced. There's only place that's going to be enforced is on turn number 4. And I think that's going to be a very interesting one there, because I feel that actually is going to catch a lot more people off guard compared to turn number 8, because turn number 4 can be very, very tricky. And turn number 4 is also one of those kind of turns where exceeding track limits definitely gives you a huge advantage, you know, compared to exceeding track limits on turn number 8.
Yeah, so turn number 4 is, I think, one of the sharper turns for them to actually conquer. Heading up to it, it is going to be a relatively smooth turn into T5, T6, T7 to T8. T8 also another very sharp turn as well, as we have discussed at length already about the track limits. I do believe that that's definitely going to give a little bit of ease. And maybe we might even see a little bit more competition, or maybe even a few challenges heading up into turn 8 here. But then again, the angle of approach is a very steep one indeed when we compare it to some of the other sides of the tracks here. Not that much of space compared to some of the other spots within the track. I mean, compared to turn 3 and heading into turn 4, there are a lot of other opportunities for them to actually try to go for the challenges. Turn 5 as well could be another place, but let us take a look at Putra Adam here. Still ahead by quite a bit here. Has been able to put Mika Hakimi down to second spot here. 126.554 compared to 126.632.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be very happy with that, because, you know, chances are if he can keep this up, if he can actually improve a lot more, I think he'll be a little bit more comfortable sitting in that pole position. I mean, right now it's literally only about less than a tenth of a second, actually, ahead of Mika Hakimi. So certainly if Mika can actually improve just a little bit, he will actually be able to beat Putra Adam's time. So Putra, though, looks like he's going to be going into the pits now. So he's going to see if he can do any additional adjustments, maybe give a bit of feedback to his mechanics. As I alluded earlier on during the Super Sporting class, you know, the feedback is very, very important. And I think that's one thing that the rookies definitely will have to learn very, very quickly, is that, you know, you have to be super communicative with your mechanics. You have to let them know every little detail about the car. And, you know, this is kind of a mark of really good drivers, you know. Legends like Ayrton Senna, for example, you know, they spend hours upon hours, you know, talking, discussing with the mechanics about the setup, about details about the track, and all these small details, they really add up. And once they add up in the right way, it does mean that you're going to be setting purple sectors every single time. So that's why getting that feedback is important. Going back to the pits there is Putra Adam, and he's going to be getting a bit of an adjustment to his wheels there, no doubt. A little bit of tightening as well on the bolts to ensure that the wheels are nice and steady there. But you know, safe to say, you know, this has already been quite a marked improvement for Putra Adam coming to this qualifying session, because remember, he had not been able to perform well in round number 1. So here's hoping that this time around, fortunes are going to be changing for Putra Adam.
Well, we have said time and time again that the cars are the extension of drivers. So getting that extra bits of information, or even I mean, there's a little bit of superstition, right, in in racing as well. You know, you have your racing socks or your special balaclava whatsoever, and being able to know what is the ins and outs of the particular vehicle that you're going to be driving is definitely going to be very important indeed. We have seen time and time again that a lot of drivers spend a lot of time with their cars, with their vehicles, ensuring that they know every little idiosyncrasy that every car has, even though engineering suggests that one model of the car is similar to the. I mean, they're all using the same model of cars,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
every different type of car may have its own little quirks that I feel that some drivers may have to overcome, and the fact that a lot of these drivers as well, like you said, have had quite a bit of challenges. Playing around with stick is also something that we need to be aware of, because I think for the majority of the part here, a lot of drivers tend to are a little bit more well versed with the what's the other gear setting called again? Not gear setting.
Sequentials.
Sequentials, yeah. More familiar with sequentials. So
And
this might be a step back for them, to say the least.
it's especially for us millennials, it's kind of like a call to nostalgia, isn't it? You know?
Yes.
But you know, for these kids, it can be something completely alien, and I kind of feel that, you know, as time goes on, especially with electrification being on the horizon for
Yeah.
vehicles all across the board, I think that's slowly going to become something that's going to be extinct. I think, you know. So I don't know. I mean, again, for all the rookies involved here, I mean, again, as a driver, sometimes you have to be able to adapt to the environment that you're going to be forced in, you know, and you never are going to be able to get an environment that's truly going to be suited to you yourself as a driver. So part of the kind of challenge of being a professional driver is just being flexible enough, you know, to be fast and be able to drive anything that you're thrust into. So a mark of a really good driver here is definitely one who can, you know, be fast not only on your karts or on your Formula cars, but even in a road car, just like the Toyota Vios here. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we're already at the halfway point here in official qualifying. Pooja Adam is still on top of the board right now with a 126.5. We yet to see anyone else actually break into that barrier here. Mika Hakimi probably definitely is the closest here at 126.6, but again, Nakib Aslan still in the 127s, Struanhi still in the 127.2. So those couple of guys are still going to have to find some extra time, because a 127, I'm afraid, is still going to be very, very difficult to compete against a super sporting class. So yeah, right now, qualifying session still in the midpoints here, but I think Pooja Adam definitely can breathe a lot easier, given that his real competition right now is Mika Hakimi.
I think that even though Adam does have quite a bit of breathing room, he's not too far behind from Hakimi. He's not too far ahead of Hakimi as well, so he shouldn't be resting on his laurels too much here. As we could be seeing that Adam and Hakimi, both of these drivers, are going to definitely consider pushing the limits just a little bit more. But then again, I mean, Putra Adam is going to be on pole position if he maintains this, and Mika Hakimi not too far behind. Car number 2, as we'll be seeing him scoot on by, getting out of turns, heading into turn number 6 and turn number 7. So I think that for qualifying and of course the practice rounds, I think it's really important for the drivers to basically just get a feel of it again and again. It has been, I think, a total of maybe a year, almost a year, since we've been back here, or maybe at least 9 months.
It does feel like that, you know, and yeah, it's quite a long break. And you have to consider that, you know, during this pandemic, there's actually very little racing that's been going on, you know, as a whole. So for a lot of drivers, that tends to kind of mean that, you know, you kind of get cooled down. You know, you're no longer feeling as hot anymore. You know, you kind of need to warm yourself back up, and sometimes that can be kind of challenging for old drivers. But for the new guys, you know, I think it's going to be great for them to kind of like come out here and stretch their legs a little bit, because again, it's going to be back to familiarity for a lot of these guys. You know, they're returning back to the same track, they're coming back to the same cars again. So no doubt, I think like within a few laps, I think that these guys can already get themselves dialed in here, and started to set some good times. We already see Mika Hakimi just set a 33.9 in Sector 1. That's a very, very fast Sector 1 time. And no doubt that's off the back of actually following Nakib Aslan earlier on. I actually saw him tailing him quite closely during this qualifying session, and no doubt that draft has actually helped him a lot through Sector 1.
A draft could actually be a strong thing to be used in advantage, and I do think that despite the fact that there is a limited amount of drivers in the rookie class, this could be a mechanic that should be taken advantage of. Now on your screen, Putra Adam from the rookie class 1:26.554 in car number 25, as we're going to be seeing flights now in the air, just above the skies, as we do see that Putra Adam now is going to at least be rather comfortable with his current time, despite the fact that Mika Hakimi has come up forward with a 1:26.64, and I think that was where he was able to set those times really well in Sector 1. He did benefit quite a bit with that Sector 1 time of 33, and now heading into Sector 2, I do believe that that's just going to be at least something for him to be proud of heading into the race later on.
Definitely taking the draft off of Nakib Aslan has helped him a lot in Sector 1, that's for sure. So again, if Putra Adam wants to be able to match that, he needs to do the same thing, really. You know, he needs to find someone to kind of catch a draft off of. And that can be a very tricky thing to do in qualifying, because you got to remember, everyone is out there on the track for themselves. You know, they're not out there to help you get an extra slipstream, just get extra tenth of 2. So that's something that the drivers are just gonna have to be smart enough to figure out for themselves. And unfortunately for Putra Adam, you know, he's gonna have to find a really good gap here to come out and hopefully be able to catch a draft off of someone. It seems like he just came out of the pits right about now, so but the thing is that there's literally no one around him. But this time around, Nakib Aslan, he's going to be drafting off of Mika Hakimi this time, and given Nakib has already been able to break into the 1:26.8, that's already improved significantly since early on in his qualifying session. So maybe this might be the chance that Nakib Aslan is looking for to actually make a run for pole.
All right. Despite the fact that we did give quite a bit of attention towards our top 3 podium starters, Joan He now looking to push a little bit more with 10 more minutes on the clock right now. The time is 10:35 in the AM. So if you just joined us, now's a good time to get that coffee brewing or that cup of tea. Get yourself some crumpets or a scone. Get yourself comfortable, because we've got so much action. The only thing that you have missed thus far, if you just joined us, is the qualifying super sporting class, and now we're doing the qualifying for rookies. Later on, we still have 2 more qualifying rounds to go for, which is in the promotional and sporting classes. We've also got tons of action for you lined up in terms of off the grid, so that's going to be something for you guys to look forward to as well. We do hope that you guys are patient with this, because sooner or later it is going to be an interesting one to see the cheers and jeers that could come from the standings in terms of watching people come up here to support their favorite races, their favorite celebrities, and so on and so forth. However, that being said, we are going to be looking at Amir Harris now. Luck doesn't seem to be in the favor of Amir Harris. I think this past few races, I think in the previous race as well, he was hit by a stroke of bad luck as well. Not entirely fresh in my memory what happened to him back then, but I did believe that it did get in the way of his efforts of trying to chase up into some of the top podium sides. But now he is going to be clawing his way from the bottom side of a 5th position in car number 4, and that's going to be a very, very daunting climb indeed.
And I'm really going to be interested to see, especially when it comes to Sunday's race number 2, how Mika Hakimi is going to be able to handle that, because if you remember right, in race 1, he was able to perform quite well actually. He managed to get himself 3rd for his class. But the moment he came to the reverse grid race, that's where he literally dropped off the face of the earth, kind of literally, because he really couldn't find a pace to actually get past a lot of people, and that actually handed the win practically to Nakib Aslan. So I'm I'm really curious to see whether he has learned a lot in these last 9 months in order to try to improve on that. But safe to say, I think Nakib Aslan is still struggling to be able to beat Putra Adam. He's been able to set a 126.6, still a tenth of a second behind Putra though, so not quite good enough for second place. But certainly not for a lack of trying on his part, as Putra Adam now leads Nakib Aslan going on the straight. So he's actually donating a bit of slipstream now to Nakib Aslan. That's going to definitely help his campaign going towards the pole. Definitely not going to help Putra Adam's case though. He's definitely going to be at a massive disadvantage here because he might practically be handing second place to Nakib Aslan if he allows Nakib to continue abusing this slipstream from him.
Right, we're going to be watching this matchup here between Nakib Aslan, who's in car number 17, and Putra Adam, who is in the forefront of your screen here, car number 25. I do think that Nakib is definitely going to be using this to his much needed advantage with about 6 minutes and 45 seconds left. We do have quite a limitation of time here before the promotional class will have to take over the track. I believe that this could be a very, very strong case for Nakib Aslan to try to get better times here, because we do see Putra Adam right now is being able to score a better time overall for Sector 1 across the board. However, it isn't a new time that he has set. It's one of his best times. So I think the best time that was set just now was by maybe Nakib or Putra, if I'm not mistaken, at 33. I do think that this could be an opportunity for both these guys to actually try to get that pole position. Mika Hakimi again has been able to score quite a bit here in terms of his time. 136.264. We do see that the majority of the top three are going to be getting the 126, 1 minute and 26 seconds overall for the best time, but it is going to be a matter of inches here as they hit into the final few laps.
Matter of inches in those sections, because you know the Putra Adam and Nakib Aslan, of course, being about 10 of each other. Just kind of playing it safe for qualifying so that they can go all out during the races, or maybe it's just you know, trying to keep the car in really good condition, because you got to remember that the rookies are actually driving cars that are a little bit older compared to the rest of the competition. These are actually previous gen chassis that are provided to the rookies, you know, so that does mean that the chassis is a little bit worn, a little bit battle scarred, in fact, and sometimes that does mean that the handling kind of characteristics may not be that ideal. So I think sometimes it's better to err on the side of caution, especially for these rookies. But nevertheless, you know, given that they're still able to set some good competitive times here, the 126s, I think we're still in for quite a good race later on during the day.
I think caution is definitely going to be taken into consideration here. We have seen time and time again that some drivers who decide to throw caution into the wind end up with disastrous effects. And not only does it cost them the position that they fought so hard to maintain, or they fought so hard to steal, but it cost them the entire race as well. We've seen it happen not just in the rookie classes, but also in the promotional, and the sporting and super sporting classes as well. In terms of safety, we are very much assured that the race director will be very much on top of everything. I do believe that in every season, we do see that the race director is definitely working out really, really hard to make sure that the environment of the race is safe, injuries are at an all-time low, and thus far, I think that thankfully we haven't had any serious crashes. We've only had maybe like a few sacrificial side mirrors, maybe a few breaking of the bonnets or the boots, and I feel that that could at least signal that despite the fact that aggression is high in terms of the competition between all drivers, everyone is at least looking out for each other in terms of safety.
Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, we've only 5 cars out on the track right now. I mean, the track is very, very empty, but yet you can see a lot of these guys still crowd around each other because the slipstream is just that valuable. You know, you don't want to miss out on the extra 2 or 3 tenths of a second, you know, coming off of the slipstream on the straight. So that's why you can see the top 3 guys are literally hugging each other so close because they really want to be able to take advantage of the slipstream off of each other. And unfortunately, the guy who's going to be had a massive disadvantage, of course, is the guy in front, which is Adam. So nevertheless, though, Mika Hakimi is starting to hang on to coattails of Nakib Aslan as they go through turn 4. About 2 minutes left on his qualifying session, so this is literally going to be the last few chances for these drivers to put in their times to really see where the pace is at before the race here, and also to get any like final adjustments or any final fine-tuning they need to do on their cars. But safe to say though, it seems like a lot of these guys are very comfortable with their ride. It seems like both Adam, Nakib Aslan had about enough. They're going to be headed back into the pits there with still about 1 minute spare, so I doubt they're going to be coming out on track again, or if they are, they're going to have to do it as quickly as they can because there's only about a minute for them to do whatever adjustments they have to do. But for Mika Hakimi, he decided to stay out, and pretty much it was within his full rights to do so. I mean, again, he is currently leading this qualifying session with a time of 126.2, 3 tenths faster than Project Adam, and that was off a really good draft. So it seems unlikely that will be challenged anytime soon here. But safe to say, I think Mika Hakimi has scored a really good qualifying session so far.
Mika Hakimi put a lot of his eggs in the basket of getting that one perfect qualifying lap, and he was able to do so, scoring a time of 126.264. And it seems that that best time is going to be the standard to keep here with 1 minute left. Don't know whether we're going to be seeing any changes thus far. To note, the last few laps from Mika Hakimi was, I think, taken rather leisurely, because we did see in Sector 1 and Sector 2, he had some of the worst times in terms of that particular lap, right? When we compare it with Putra Adam, Nakib Aslan, John He, and Amir Harris. However, Mika Hakimi seems to be rather comfortable with the 126.264 time, and I feel that this could actually play into the fact that not only is it going to give him confidence, but it's going to at least give him a little bit of familiarity and a little bit more ease in terms of him handling himself on the track.
And that's one thing you want to be, right? You want to be super comfortable inside your car. You want to be able to make that car an extension of your body, so you don't have to think too much about driving and actually focus all your energy onto racing. So that's why drivers will love to just spend as much time on the track as possible, because you need to build that familiarity with your machine as much as possible. And the only way you can build that is through actual track time. So, ladies and gentlemen, the qualifying looks like it's come to an end now. The checkered flag should be coming out now for our rookies here to finish off their flying laps. Let's see whether there are not going to be improvements on the board here. So far, Mika Hakimi is still on top of the board. Coming across the line now is going to be car number 4. That's not going to be an improvement there for Amir Harris, unfortunately. Car number 25, Putra Adam, comes across the line, but still, that's only an outlap for him, so no time set for himself. Mika Hakimi should be coming through turn 4 right about now, so still has a long way to go, but safe to say, it seems like Mika Hakimi has won qualifying here for the rookie class.
Yeah, very nicely done here for Mika Hakimi. Still will have quite a bit to compete at in the race that is awaiting him later in the evening, or in the afternoon, excuse me. So I do believe that for Mika Hakimi, he is going to be taking a leisurely drive on towards the finish line to close off this rookie class, the official qualifying of the rookie class here, the Sepang International Circuit. Let's get a tabulation of the final times that we have been able to accrue.
That will be coming on screen really soon, but yep, with the qualifying session already officially closed here, ladies and gentlemen. Drivers are still out on track though, because they're going to be running a little bit of a practice start there, but safe to say, I mean, looking at the highlights here, I'm really liking the fact that, you know, this has been a very clean qualifying, you know, all across the board. I mean, Super Sporting class, no surprise there. We're talking about professional drivers, but the fact that the rookies have just gone through this whole stage, all section unscathed, I mean, truly, it's a testament to how much they've improved already, you know, compared to round one. I mean, again, they're no longer strangers to the stick shift, that's for sure. They definitely know how to handle it, just like the pros. And given that their times are super competitive, you know, 126.2, 26.5, 26.6, 26.7, I think the rookie class is going to be pretty lit once we get to the start line later on this afternoon.
I'm thinking that for all that's being said and done for the rookie class, it has been a rather, not to say an uneventful qualifying, but and I think it has been a very leisurely rookie class qualifying, to be said. There wasn't that we did see a little bit of draft, I'll say draft abuse, but the usage of draft that was prevalent in Putra Adam, Nakib Azlan. But still, even with the system of draft and whatnot, I feel that Mika Hakimi was still very much ahead from that very strong lap he had just now. I think it was very early on in the qualifying session. So I do believe that when you're able to do that really early on and you're very aware of what has been done, you tend to play it a little bit more safer. You tend to play it a little bit more, not to say conservatively, but more aware of the lead that you have and the ability to maintain it. So one good lap was all that Mika Hakimi needed, whereas Putra Adam, Nakib Azlan, Joan He, and Amir Harris, all four of these drivers here had a few attempts to try to get close. But then this is for what is coming up next. The promotional class qualifiers. Your favorite celebrities are all getting ready in their full kit, getting that drip, and are ready to get onto the track. I think we have a total of about, what, 15 drivers? 12 to 15 drivers?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of drivers later on in the sporting class, that's for sure. But, you know, in the promotion class, we got all the 10 drivers, you know, our 9 celebrities, plus our chief motorsport officer, Mr. Akio Takayama-san. And yeah, these guys are just going to be setting up and getting ready for that. So you got that to look forward to later on here, ladies and gentlemen, who are sitting at home here. But yeah, to kind of bring things back a little bit to the rookie class, though, I'm super glad to see that, you know, these guys are going to have very competitive times with the super sporting class. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be, you know, racing wheel to wheel with a lot of the pros right there later on this afternoon. But safe to say, you know, it's been a very uneventful one. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep that streak going on here in this promotional class.
Yep, it is going to be a very interesting one indeed. I hope you guys are ready. We are going to be taking a short little commercial break, but remember, this is a Toyota Gazoo racing vessel. I'm Nick, his Victor. We'll see you in a bit.
It's very wide. I told you. Lead, but he's going to try to counterattack now. He gets himself back in the lead. The battle really is brewing in the back line here because the rookies, the gap is starting to widen up. Adi Sultan now rounding around turn 7, turn 8.
Battle of the top 3 sebenarnya. Dan walaupun sudah ada di screen siapakah yang berada di top 3.
They still attempting to get a run up onto him. The final lap is still coming through here as they come across the line. Check the checkered flag. Degujan wins. We have a little bit of battle in the back there as the rookies are still continuing to go through. Now 38 is still going to be able to stay ahead of rookies, but it's still going to be Nakib Azlan still able to stay ahead of his class. He's already pumping his fists in the air. He knows that he is more than made up for race 1 because now he is the winner of race 2.
Benda yang sangat dramatik, itu juara kita, itu Zizan Razak di dalam promotional race kedua Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge. Alright, selamat sejahtera dan selamat kembali. Anda bersama saya, Matthews Isaac. Dan sebelah saya adalah Nick Haris, adalah pengulas anda untuk promotional qualifying sebenarnya. Belum lagi kita masuk race. Ini adalah qualifying session dan saya sangat teruja nak tengok. So, Nick, apa khabar?
Terlalu sihatlah, haraplah anda pun bersiap sedia para penonton sekalian. Kami akan lihat sebanyak 9 ahli dalam kelas promotional kita, di mana kami akan lihat di mana mereka akan bertarung antara satu sama lain untuk mendapat masa yang paling elok demi mengetahui kedudukan mereka di dalam litar track yang akan datang nanti.
Ya, betul tu Nick. So, saya pun sangat teruja nak tengok dan kalau anda adalah peminat celebrity races ni, anda boleh berikan sokongan anda di dalam ruangan komen. Dan seperti yang kita lihat, kita mempunyai 10 pelumba terdiri daripada Akio Takiyama, Wani Hasrita, Talitha Tan, Zizan Razak, Jananik, Syukriaya, Ahiruddin, Nabil Ahmad, Nabila Razali dan terakhir sekali adalah Kai Bahar. Nick.
Yalah, itulah saya rasa antara mereka yang telah pun mendapatkan kumpulan mata yang terhebat adalah Zizan Razak dengan sebanyak 41 mata, di mana Akio Takiyama, Ahiruddin, Kai Bahar dan Jananik berada di kedudukan 2, 3, 4 dan 5. 25 markah bagi Akio Takiyama dan 24 bagi kedudukan nombor 3. Dan saya rasa jurang markah tidak begitu tinggi, tapi boleh dikatakan keselesaan Zizan Razak akan tertakluk kepada kedudukannya kerana sebanyak 13 ataupun 15 mata perbezaan antara dia dengan kedudukan kedua. So rasanya dia akan rasa agak selesa juga, tetapi jangan terlalu selesa Zizan. Kami akan lihat saingannya memang akan hebat antara kesemua peserta kita di promotional class ini.
Ya, betul. So seperti yang kita lihat di dalam skrin, kita nampak Jananik masih lagi melakukan persiapan yang terakhir. At the meantime, ada juga masa untuk ambil gambar ya, Victor. Ada Nick.
Yalah, memanglah kami boleh lihatlah mereka pun adalah masa untuk bergambar, masa untuk berseronok-seronok. Dan saya rasa itulah suasana yang memang menyesuaikan, memang sesuai bagi mereka untuk mendapatkan semangat di mana mereka akan berlawan antara satu sama lain, berlumba antara satu sama lain di litar antarabangsa Sepang ini. Kami akan lihat ya, horn telah pun dibunyikan, maksudnya mereka akan ke litar Sepang ini dan memulakan fasa qualifying ini di kelas promotional.
Ya, betul. Ada yang tanya, boleh datang ke Sepang dan menonton? Unfortunately, tidak boleh guys. Sebab kita ni masih lagi di dalam pandemik dan juga wabak COVID-19 ni masih lagi berkembang sebenarnya. Kita belum lagi berada di dalam safe zone. So, untuk race ini, it's still close racing, Nick.
Ialah dimaklumkan para penonton di rumah, di mana mereka yang menonton ingin menonton secara langsung. Memang siaran ini sajalah menjadikan satu platform di mana anda boleh menyaksikan artis-artis kegemaran anda berlawan antara satu sama lain, berlumba antara satu sama lain untuk mendapatkan kemenangan. Tetapi doakan kami agar untuk membuka acara ini kepada semua pada masa yang akan datang. Tetapi buat masa kini sekarang semuanya akan tertutup. Semuanya akan boleh dikatakan agak terhad daripada segi kapasiti yang sedia ada ini.
Yes, betul. So jadi nampaknya official qualifying untuk promotional race sudah pun bermula dan semua para pelumba ini mempunyai 30 minit yang cukup sebenarnya untuk melakukan timing yang baik. So kita lihat siapakah yang akan mendapat timing yang cukup baik yang akan meletakkan mereka di dalam top 5 ataupun pole position. So in the meantime, kita nampak jentera-jentera sudah pun keluar di atas litar ya, Nick.
Yalah, jentera mereka pun semuanya telah pun lengkap dan siap. Kami akan berpandang, merhatikan Nabila Razali di kereta nombor 92 tadi, keluar daripada pusingan ketiga, sekarang ke pusingan keempat ini. Kami akan lihat ya daripada apa yang kami lihat di skrin kita, di mana semuanya ahli-ahli pemain ini, semua pelumba kita hari ini akan mengambil masa mereka untuk mendapatkan masa yang elok dan keselesaan yang diingini di dalam perlumbaan promotional class ini, kerana qualifying di mana qualifying round ini merupakan round yang begitu penting di mana mereka akan mendapati kedudukan mereka, dan kenyataannya adalah siapa yang berada di dalam pole position memang akan ada kelebihan yang banyak.
Ya, so itu dia. Kita lihat Nabila Razali yang berada di dalam jentera yang ke-92, nombor 92 sebenarnya. Dan kalau kita lihat beliau di dalam musim-musim sebelum ni memang agak cukup baik sebenarnya, tetapi kita masih lagi belum lagi lihat aksi beliau di dalam round kedua season 4 ini. So jadi itulah Nabila Razali, dan ini dia jentera nombor 24 iaitu Syukri Yahya. Kalau anda adalah penyokong daripada Syukri Yahya, berikan sokongan anda di dalam ruangan komen. Kita akan baca juga. Dan itu dia, the man, the meat dalam jentera nombor 24 yang baru saja keluar daripada turn 8 di situ, Nick.
Ialah kami akan lihat Syukri Yahya bukan sahaja seorang yang segat handsome, tetapi seorang yang handal menggunakan jenteranya. Dan kami akan lihat ia daripada apa yang ditunjukkan Syukri Yahya sekarang berpegang kepada kedudukan nombor 1.
Ya, so itu dia, masih lagi beliau berada di dalam beliau berada di dalam P pertama dengan timing yang cukup baik sebenarnya, 1.29.614. Kita tunggu dan lihat siapakah pelumba lain yang boleh mendapatkan timing yang lebih menarik. So in the meantime kita nampak jentera nombor 94 iaitu Kai Bahar, yang ini adalah nombor 15 iaitu Zizan Razak, the favourite sebenarnya, Nick, sebab beliau memang kita lihat dah persembahan yang cukup luar biasa daripada beliau di dalam round yang pertama. So masih lagi berbisa di situ, Vic.
Walaupun dia seorang pelakon yang selalu memainkan watak yang lawak, yang lucu, dan selalu saya boleh lihatlah daripada apa yang ditampilkan oleh dia, seorang yang selalu senyum, selalu gelak. Tetapi rasanya di dalam perlumbaan tersebut dan tiada pun senyuman-senyuman yang keluar daripada Zizan Razak, melainkan senyuman yang ada di atas podium. Dan saya rasa itu mungkin menjadikan satu rahsia di mana Zizan Razak berjaya untuk mendapatkan banyak kemenangan ni. Tapi saya rasa pengalaman dia di luar Toyota Gazoo Racing, di mana dia pun boleh dikatakan satu peserta di dalam industri racing ini, di industri perlumbaan ini, saya rasa memainkan peranan besar ataupun memberikan Zizan Razak kelebihan yang membolehkan dia mendapatkan kemenangan.
Ya, betul tu, Nick. Sebab beliau pun memang berpengalaman dan juga pernah memasuki pelbagai acara motorsport sebenarnya. Dan informasi yang paling bagus ialah beliau pernah duduk satu kereta bersama dengan Lewis Hamilton. So beliau memang mempunyai pengalaman yang cukup baik dan boleh menjadikan favourites di dalam promotional race ini. So itu dia jentera nombor 15 Zizan Razak. Kalau anda adalah penyokong daripada Zizan Razak, berikan sokongan anda, guys. So in the meantime, mereka ni masih mempunyai 24 minit untuk melakukan ataupun set timing yang cukup baik. Oh, nampaknya ada jentera terpusing iaitu nombor 18. Jana Nick di situ, Nick. Macam dah kena tornado dah tadi.
Yalah, saya rasa terkena puting beliung tadi, dia terpusing keluar. Belum lagi masuk kepada perlumbaan telah pun terkena. Ditimpa malang. Itu Jana Nick. Haraplah dia pun akan berjaya untuk mendapatkan masa yang begitu elok. Kami akan lihat ya sekarang. Zizan Razak telah pun jatuh kepada kedudukan nombor 4, tidak silap saya. Di mana kami akan lihat kedudukan nombor 1, 2 dan 3 akan berpegang kepada Syukri Yahya, Nabil Ahmad, Talitha. Dan semuanya akan mendapatkan masa yang begitu cantik. Syukri Yahya dengan masa sektor 2 yang paling hebat, 53 saat 511, dan jumlah masa sebanyak 1.28.556.
Ya, betul tu, Nick. Nampaknya sektor purple yang diambil sektor kedua iaitu purple untuk beliau. Nampaknya beliau adalah terpantas di dalam sektor kedua. Dan kita lihat Nabil Ahmad di dalam jentera nombor 83. Itu dia. Beliau kini berada di dalam tangga ketiga sebenarnya, belakang Zizan Razak sebenarnya. Dan kita tunggu dan lihat beliau dapat melakukan timing yang lebih baik ataupun tidak. Sebab di dalam P keempat kita nampak Talitha dan di dalam P kelima, watch out for this name Victor. Dan juga saya minta maaf Nick, itu Ahirudin. Beliau adalah seorang boleh mengatakan berpengalaman juga seperti Zizan Razak sebab beliau banyak lagi memasuki ke dalam acara-acara motorsport sebenarnya.
Dan saya rasa kebolehan dia untuk bukan kebolehan dia, maaf saya, peluang itu di mana pengalaman itu akan memainkan peranan besar di mana hari ini Ahirudin telah pun berjaya untuk mendapatkan kedudukan yang lagi cantik. Kami pun telah lihat di mana hari ini Ahirudin sedahulu-dahulunya di mana dia bermain, maksud saya dia berlumba dalam perlumbaan Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival ini telah pun tidak berjaya berada di dalam kedudukan 5 ke atas. Sekarang kami lihat hari ini Ahirudin sekarang berpegang pada kedudukan nombor 3 berdekatan dengan Zizan Razak dan juga Syukri Yahya. Boleh dikatakan antara mereka, walaupun Zizan Razak menjadi seorang kegemaran bagi para penonton untuk memenangi kesemuanya, tetap akan mendapat banyak halangan berbentuk Syukri Yahya ini dan tekanan yang datang daripada hari ini Ahirudin dan Razak berada di pertengahan kedua-dua ahli ini. Tapi tidak, saya rasa saya tercakap terlalu awal. Zizan Razak telah pun berjaya untuk mendapatkan masa yang paling elok, sebanyak 1 minit 28 saat dan 470. Semuanya kerana sektor pertamanya terhebat 34 saat sahaja.
Ya, betul-betul bukan surprising sebenarnya kalau kita lihat aksi Zizan Razak ni sebab beliau memang berpengalaman dan seperti yang saya mengatakan, he is also a favourite di dalam race ini. So yang paling fokus yang kita perlu berikan adalah akhir ini sebab tadi di dalam P ke-5, sekarang naik ke dalam P ke-3. Nampaknya beliau sangat mengejar untuk mendapatkan timing yang lebih menarik, tetapi Syukri Yahya masih lagi berada di dalam P ke-2. Nabil Ahmad juga sudah masuk ke dalam top 4 dan diikuti oleh Kai Bahar di dalam P ke-5. So itu dia Ahirudin di dalam jentera nombor 37. And she's a very talented driver so far, Nick.
Memanglah seorang rasanya dekat lagi termakan lebih sikit di dalam pusingan yang ada tadi itu. Hari ini Ahirudin baru saja keluar daripada pusingan kedua, maksud saya akan ke arah pusingan ketiga tadi. Dan kami akan lihat ya daripada apa yang ditunjukkan daripada semua ahli kita pada hari ini, semuanya akan berpegang agak jauh berbanding dengan rookie class tadi, di mana kami akan lihat kelima peserta kita, pelumba kita semua berada berdekatan antara satu sama lain. Tiada siapa-siapa pun akan mengambil kesempatan di mana draft akan digunakan.
Ya, betul. Iman Mutiara mengatakan jentera 94, di manakah kamu? Jentera 94 Kai Bahar berada di dalam tangga ke-6. Timing beliau yang cukup menarik adalah 1.30.689. So itu dia Kai Bahar. Yes, that is the man yang anda sangat-sangat nak menantikan sebenarnya. So let's see Nick, if they're able to give a good timing. Sebab kita mempunyai lebih kurang 19 minit saja di dalam promotional official qualifying ni.
Okay, para penonton sekalian, haraplah anda semua rajin mengomen di dalam siaran langsung kita. Kami akan memerhatikan segala pertanyaan, segala sorakan, dan kami akan cuba sebaik mungkin untuk menjawabkan soalan-soalan anda di siaran langsung ini. Dan kami akan lihat ya daripada apa yang ditunjukkan oleh Kai Bahar sekarang, walaupun dia berada dalam kedudukan nombor 6 maksud saya. Yes. Masanya tidak begitu jauh berbanding dengan ahli-ahli tersebut, tetapi 3 saat perbezaan yang agak jauh juga jikalau dia ingin mendapatkan kedudukan nombor 1 itu.
Ya, betul tu. So nampaknya beliau masih lagi memerlukan improve timing di situ. Tetapi kita mempunyai lagi 18 minit yang terakhir. Syukri Yahya kini berada di dalam tempat pertama dengan 1.27.835. Nampaknya beliau adalah pelumba yang terpantas di dalam minit-minit ini. Tetapi seperti yang saya mengatakan, beliau masih lagi mempunyai masa yang agak panjang dan juga untuk para pelumba yang lain juga. So in the meantime, saya nak tengok siapakah yang akan dapat timing yang baik. Oh, in the meantime, Nick, Akio Takiyama pun sudah berada di dalam P keempat. Nampaknya Nabil Ahmad jatuh ke dalam P kelima. Nampaknya Akio has been pretty fast.
Saya rasa itu menjadikan satu benda di mana Akira Takayama akan sebaik mungkin mengejar pada kedudukan nombor ketiga ini. Tapi yang paling konsisten sekarang adalah Ahirudin yang berpegang pada kedudukan nombor tiganya. Tapi kami akan lihat di kereta di jentera nombor 4, tidak silap. Maaf saya, bukan jentera nombor 4, jentera nombor 1 Akira Takayama berpegang kepada kedudukannya. Inilah dia di atas skrin anda. Sekarang tetap kami berbincang kita pasal kedudukan lah Matthews, di mana Syukriya dengan Zizan Razak, kedua pelumba ni sekarang antara satu sama lain selalu bertukar-tukaran kedudukan. Saya rasanya daripada apa yang ditunjukkan, sebanyak 1 saat membezakan antara Syukriya dan Zizan Razak. So boleh dikatakan berbanding dengan beberapa santainya ahli di rookie class tadi agak selesa dengan masa-masa mereka. Boleh dikatakan agak kurang selesa lah Zizan Razak daripada apa yang ditunjukkan oleh Syukri Yahya ini, sebab Syukri Yahya memanglah menunjukkan satu perubahan yang baik, di mana cara permainan dia, cara perlombaan dia begitu cantik, cara dia memasuki garis panduan ataupun garis lumba begitu cantik, dan saya rasa kebolehan dia untuk mendapatkan beberapa corner ni, pelincongan ini dengan baik tanpa menghilang kelajuan adalah satu benda yang perlu diperhatikan dengan teliti.
Ya, kepada penyokong Nabila Razali, itu dia, beliau kini berada di dalam P keempat. Nampaknya timing yang cukup baik daripada Nabila Razali, iaitu 1.29.961. So ini dia, Ahirudin masih lagi kekal ada di dalam P ketiga dengan timing beliau adalah 1.29.233. Tapi agak jauh juga untuk mengejar Zizan Razak yang kini berada 1 saat lebih daripadanya. Dan nampaknya beliau kini berada di dalam P kedua. And let's see siapakah yang akan dapat timing yang cukup baik. So ini dia 15 minit yang terakhir di dalam promotional official qualifying ini untuk promotional class. Dan kita tunggu dan lihat. Kalau anda adalah penyokong-penyokong daripada selebriti kegemaran anda boleh berikan sokongan di dalam ruangan komen. Dan sayang sekali je ni, mereka ni tidak boleh berada di atas F1 circuit ni.
Yalah, saya rasa itulah satu kerugian di mana mereka. Tapi kami lihat ya, antara Nabila Razali dengan Akira Takayama telah pun berada perubahan kedudukan mereka, tetapi Nabila Razali pula telah terjatuh pada kedudukan nombor 5 tadi. Akira Takayama berjaya untuk mendapatkan masa yang lagi cantik, lagi elok berbanding dengan Nabila Razali. Nabila Razali dengan Akira Takayama akan berperang untuk kedudukan nombor 5 dan 4. Jurang masa tidak begitu besar antara kedua-dua mereka, tetapi satu benda yang perlu disorotkan adalah kebolehan Ahirudin berpegang kepada kedudukan nombor 3 ini, dan saya rasa dia adalah telah pun menjadikan satu pelumba yang begitu fasih dan telah pun menunjukkan perubahan yang paling baguslah, satu perubahan yang memang menunjukkan perubahan cara dia berlumba, kebolehan dia untuk bermain berlumba di atas litar antarabangsa Sepang ini di North Paddock ini. Dan saya rasa ini mungkin menjadikan satu benda di mana Ahirudin, adakah dia berjaya untuk memainkan, adakah dia akan menjadi spoiler ke arah Zizan Razak dan Syukri Yahya ni, sebab saya rasa kebolehan dia untuk mendapatkan masa yang begitu cantik memang ada, tetapi rasanya Zizan Razak dan Syukri Yahya cuba sebaik mungkin untuk menafikan apa-apa peluang bagi dia merampaskan kedudukan nombor 1 ini.
Ya, kita harus beri fokus pada Airin juga, seperti apa Nick mengatakan, sebab beliau masih lagi mempunyai potensi yang cukup baik untuk berada di dalam top 5 ni. Di dalam perlumbaan juga nanti beliau masih lagi berpotensi untuk menjadi pemenang, sebab kita lihat timing beliau pun agak laju. Bukanlah di dalam season sebelum ni boleh mengatakan beliau nampaknya ada sedikit malangan di situ. Tayar siapa tu keluar di situ, Nick?
Nick sekali lagi
Talitha sebenarnya.
Maaf saya, Talitha.
Yes.
Tadi kita terlihat kepada Jana Nick, sekarang Talitha pula akan jadi seorang lagi yang ditimpa beberapa malang ini dan kami
Ya,
akan
ini
lihat.
dia insiden sekali lagi. Nampaknya mereka ni betul-betul nampaknya lupa ini bukan racing. Ini beliau nampaknya terus masuk ke dalam garisan yang ke dalam dan nampaknya terlanggar, iaitu jentera nombor 18 dan juga jentera Talitha sebentar tadi. So nampaknya beliau kemungkinan akan dapat repairing ataupun tidak. Kita akan dapat informasi tak lama lagi because nampaknya the damage is quite a lot there. Kalau lah cable ke apa-apa terbengkok ke apa, memang beliau terpaksa retire from the race, Nick.
Itulah saya rasa masalah yang akan dialami oleh Jananik. Sekali lagi kami akan lihat beberapa ulangan kepada musim yang telah pun lepas di mana Jananik
tak habis-habis sebenarnya.
Yalah.
Di dalam musim sebelum ni pun ada juga kemenangan daripada Jananik dan di dalam musim ini pula beliau berada di dalam situasi yang bukan baik lah. Walaupun belum lagi kita mula official racing, tapi ini ada qualifying saja, but there's already an accident dan juga insiden yang bukan yang it shouldn't even happen then.
Kami akan lihat pemandu kereta 11 dan 18 Talitha dan Jananik akan perlu melaporkan diri kepada race director kita agar beberapa beberapa kata-kata nasihat akan diberikan oleh race director ke arah kedua-dua peserta kita, Talitha dan juga Jananik. Dan saya rasa itulah malangnya tidak berbau lah bagi Jananik. Telah pun terkena bukan sekali, bukan 2 kali, 3, 4 kali. Dekat setiap musim Jananik akan menjadi mangsa ke arah beberapa kemalangan ataupun beberapa pergelutan di mana kedudukan akan digelut antara semua pelumba-pelumba ini dan Jananik akan menjadikan mangsa yang terakhir dalam perlawanan dalam pergelutan tersebut. Memang susahlah untuk Jananik berada di pertengahan pergulatan tersebut, tapi rasanya kami akan tetap lihat Jananik berlumba di dalam perlumbaan seterusnya.
Sebab kalau kita lihat ni bukanlah jentera beliau yang mengalami kecederaan yang agak tinggi, tetapi jentera Talitha sebenarnya. Sebab if memory serve me right, kita lihat Talitha yang langgar Jananik sebenarnya bila memasuki ke dalam pusingan. So that shows, there you go, kita nampak dah impak langgaran daripada Talitha sebentar tadi. So that also gives the damage kepada tayar belakang sebenarnya. Tetapi kita kena tunggu dan lihat apakah kata-kata daripada race director. Either mereka akan continue race ini ataupun tidak. Nick.
Harap-haraplah kami akan lihat peluang kedua bagi Talitha dan Jananik agar mendapatkan masa yang elok, di mana mereka telah pun berjaya, maaf saya bukan berjaya, mereka telah pun cuba sedaya upaya mereka untuk mendapatkan masa yang elok, tetapi ruginya kalaulah jalan cerita Talitha dan Jananik telah pun tamat di sini daripada segi qualifying round. Tetapi haraplah mereka tidak terjejas, tidak menjejaskan kedudukan mereka, bukan kedudukan mereka, peluang mereka untuk perlumbaan seterusnya.
So jadi kita masih lagi masuki ke dalam official qualifying ini di dalam untuk promotional race, dan itu dia jentera nombor 11 iaitu Talitha dan nampaknya of course if things are okay untuk beliau akan terus saja. Dan di dalam jentera nombor 15 kita lihat iaitu Zizan Razak masih lagi yang kini berada di dalam P kedua nampaknya. Syukri Yayah di dalam P pertama dengan qualifying time yang cukup baik 1.27.835, diikuti oleh Akhirin di dalam P ketiga, dan di dalam P keempat kita nampak Akio Takiyama. Kita tunggu dan lihat bagaimana pula untuk dua-dua top 5 racer ni. So hanya 8 minit saja yang berbaki di dalam official qualifying ini. So, kita tunggu dan lihat siapakah yang akan melakukan ataupun mendapat timing yang cukup baik ni.
Memanglah kami boleh lihat masa yang tercatat memanglah terbaik berpihak kepada Syukri Yahya, namun Zizan Razak tidak begitu jauh daripada segi masanya, tapi berada dalam outlap. So ini mungkin menjadikan satu peluang bagi Akhiruddin untuk mendapatkan kedudukan yang lagi bagus. Tetapi saya rasa ada beberapa banyak kali Akhiruddin break tengah terlalu banyak lah. Saya rasa mungkin dia overbreak sangat dan kebolehan dia untuk mendapatkan masa memang terhad jikalau dia tidak mengambil beberapa corner ni dengan lagi efisien.
Ya, dan boleh mengatakan sebegitu. Tetapi Nick, kalau kita lihat aksi beliau lebih menarik, lebih baik sebenarnya. Performance beliau lebih baik daripada pelumba-pelumba yang lain. Sebab Syukri Yahya dan juga Zizan Razak ni, mereka ni memang berpotensi juga sebab di dalam season-season sebelum ni mereka memang betul-betul perform. Tetapi akhirin di dalam round pertama sebelum ni, beliau memberikan satu aksi yang cukup baik dan masa itulah kita melihat beliau menjadi seorang the promising racer sebenarnya. Kalau kita lihat di dalam round kedua untuk season keempat ni, kita nampak major improvement daripada akhirin sebab beliau biasanya berada di dalam top 5 ataupun di dalam season-season sebelum ni beliau berada di dalam tangga ke-8 hingga ke-5 sebegitu. But kali ini beliau berada di dalam tangga ke-3 dan qualifying time yang cukup menarik daripada beliau memberikan kita satu gambar yang kemungkinan beliau akan menjadi the top contender di dalam race nanti.
Haraplah itu menjadikan satu detik di mana Ahirudin akan merasai podium, tetapi banyak lagi halangan yang menunggu beliau, iaitu Syukri Yahya dan juga Zizan Razak. Dan kami akan lihat ya daripada apa yang ditunjukkan olehnya, memang ada banyak masalah yang berada bagi mereka.
Ya, so masih lagi kita lihat
kami boleh lihatlah daripada apa yang ditunjukkan oleh kedua-dua mereka tersebut, memang masalah beliau adalah kebolehan dia untuk mendapatkan konsistensi lah di dalam beberapa beberapa cubaan untuk mendapatkan masa yang cantik. Tetapi antaranya kebolehan beliau untuk mendapatkan masa yang elok mungkin akan terhad kerana beliau telah pun mengalami beberapa masalah besar di mana dia hilang masa di dalam pusingan ke-4 dan pusingan ke-8, dan itu mungkin menjadikan satu masalah besar di mana dia tidak berjaya untuk mendapatkan masa yang lagi elok.
Ya, betul tu Nick. So, kepada anda yang baru saja memasuki ke dalam live stream ini, selamat datang. Anda bersama saya, Matheus Isaac, dan sebelah saya adalah Nick Haris. Dia adalah pengulas untuk Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge Season 4 round kedua. Dan ini adalah promotional official qualifying. Siapa-siapa yang mendapatkan position yang cukup baik akan berada di dalam race nanti dengan grid start yang cukup menarik. So, hanya 4 minit yang terakhir di dalam perlumbaan ini dan nampaknya di dalam P pertama masih lagi kekal iaitu Syukri Yahya dengan masanya iaitu 1.27.835 diikuti oleh Zizan Razak di dalam P kedua dengan 1.28.470. P ketiga miliki kepada Ahirudin dengan 1.29.233. So nampaknya Nick, beza antara P1 dengan P3 sampai ke P3 ni hanya satu saat saja.
Ialah semuanya cerita pasal semuanya satu perbezaan yang boleh dikatakan sekelip mata tu tidak begitu besar, tetapi di dalam industri perlumbaan ini satu saat tu merupakan satu jurang yang besar lah, jurang masa yang agak besar antara ketiga-tiga ahli-ahli podium ini, Syukri Yahya, Zizan Razak dan juga Ahirudin, di mana daripada kedudukan nombor 1 sampai kedudukan nombor 3 mereka berada dalam perbezaan satu saat saja. Kami akan lihat balik seketika. Kembali ke litar adalah Talitha Tan.
Ya, so nampaknya Nick bukanlah seperti yang kita expect sebenarnya. Nampaknya beliau masih lagi boleh lumba nampaknya. Because seperti tadi kita lihat jentera beliau mengalami kecederaan yang agak besar juga. Tetapi nampaknya the racing team has been fantastic. Terus melakukan repairing yang cukup baik dan beliau pun terus di atas litar. Dan kita tunggu dan lihat bagaimana pula performance beliau nanti. Sebab masih lagi Nick, beliau berada di dalam P ke-5. Di dalam top 5 sebenarnya.
Iyalah,
So
kami
that
akan lihat.
shows timing beliau set awal tadi masih lagi kekal dan tiada siapa racer yang lain menyentuhi timing beliau.
Diperhatikan di mana kedudukan Talitha memang begitu bagus yang berpihak kepada dia, tetapi tetap kami akan lihat Akio Takayama menjadi satu halangan bagi beliau untuk mendapatkan kedudukan nombor 4 ini. Jikalau beliau ingin memperbaiki masanya, beliau patutlah mengambil beberapa langkah-langkah yang berpatutan di mana dia mengambil T4 break lambat sedikit untuk mendapatkan masa yang lebih baik, ataupun memasuki beberapa sektor ini dengan kelajuan yang lagi tinggi berbanding Akio Takayama. Sebab antara Akio Takayama dengan beliau Talitha, kedua-dua mereka pun berada di dalam jangka masa 1:29 dengan 621 bagi Akio Takayama dan 664. Bezanya tidak begitu tinggi.
Ya, betul tu. So nampaknya hanya 1 minit saja yang berbaki di dalam official qualifying, dan masih lagi kita lihat Syukriyaya. Kita tunggu dah lihat adakah nama yang baru, nama yang luar biasa boleh memasuki ke dalam top 5 ataupun tidak. Sebab top 5 ni tak tukar-tukar langsung sebenarnya. Sebab daripada P1 hingga ke P5 dimiliki oleh Syukriyaya, Zizan Raza, Ahiruddin, Akio Takayama. Not a surprise. Di dalam P ke-5 dimiliki oleh Talitha Tan. Dan kepada penyokong Kai Bahar, Nabila Razali, Nabil Ahmad, Wani Asrita dan juga Jana Nik, sabar sedikit. Kemungkinan di dalam race nanti mereka akan betul-betul surprise kita nanti dengan aksi-aksi ataupun performance yang luar biasa. Tetapi di dalam official qualifying ini nampaknya mereka not the favourites untuk set timing yang cukup baik. So kita lihat sekali lagi di dalam jentera nombor 83 iaitu Nabil Ahmad yang kini berada di dalam P ke-8. Dan nampaknya this is the last lap, Nick, untuk mendapatkan timing yang baik. Kalau lah ada masanya untuk melakukan yang terbaik ataupun improvement yang terbaik, inilah masanya, Nick.
Inilah masanya, tetapi 20 saat tidak mencukupi dalam promotional qualifying kita. Dan rasanya cubaan yang paling terakhir bagi Zizan Razak untuk mendapatkan masa yang paling elok, tetapi tidak mencukupi. Beliau akan berada dalam kedudukan nombor kedua ini. Syukri akan berpegang pada kedudukan nombor 1 dan Ahiruddin akan berpegang pada kedudukan nombor 3. Baki-bakinya Akio Takayama di kedudukan nombor 4, Talitha Tan di kedudukan nombor 5. Dan kami akan lihat Nabil Ahmad sekarang berada di dalam kedudukan nombor 9.
Ya, so nampaknya masih lagi Syukriyaya masuki ke dalam pusingan yang ke-6. Beliau masih lagi berada di dalam timing yang cukup baik. Adakah kita akan lihat sesiapa yang akan mencari rekod ataupun mendapat timing yang lebih menarik ataupun tidak. So itu dia Kai Bahar di dalam jentera nombor 94. Nampaknya there is one more final chance lah untuk mereka ni. So but it's already checkered flags anyways there, Nick.
Tapi satu benda yang perlu diserukan adalah kebolehan Nabil Ahmad untuk mendapatkan kedudukan nombor 3 tadi, lalu memecah Akio Takayama dan Ahiruddin pada saat-saat terakhir, di mana dia berjaya untuk mencatatkan masa sebanyak 1 minit 29 saat. Bukan saja seorang raja lawak, tetapi seorang raja di kedudukan nombor 3 sekarang.
Ya, kita memang betul-betul memberikan fokus sedikit tentang Talitha Tan berada di dalam top 5. But now, things have changed untuk Talitha Tan. Beliau akan jatuh ke dalam P ke-6 dan Akio Takayama di dalam P ke-5. Dan yang nampaknya it's done with the official qualifying di situ, Nick.
Kami akan lihat ya, Ahiruddin akan semuanya berada dalam kedudukan yang berpatutan. Dan semuanya telah pun berjaya untuk melengkapi masa-masa mereka. Dan inilah rasanya peluang yang telah pun terlepas bagi mereka untuk mendapatkan kedudukan yang lebih elok. Dan kami akan lihat ya di mana mereka akan cuba sebaik mungkin untuk mendapatkan, untuk menggunakan kedudukan-kedudukan yang dicatatkan oleh mereka daripada segi masa yang terkumpul, agar mereka akan memasuki kepada race perlumbaan yang akan datang nanti pada petang nanti. Race pertama, adakah mereka berjaya untuk mendapat kemenangan akibat kedudukan mereka?
Ya, betul-betul apa yang betul-betul surprise saya ni, Nick, adalah Nabil Ahmad sebenarnya. Sebab lalu saya lihat di dalam perbezaan P6 ke 5 ni, saya memang betul-betul tak lihat Nabil Ahmad terus masuki ke dalam P ketiga. So that shows that beliau di dalam lap terakhir ni, beliau mengambil kesempatan yang cukup baik dan beliau improve timing di situ dan terus meletakkan beliau di dalam top ke-5. So it's going to be an advantage untuk beliau. But let's see, Nick, sebab di dalam race nanti apa-apa pun boleh berlaku. Yang terakhir boleh menjadi yang pertama. Yang pertama kemungkinan boleh jadi terakhir, Nick. Yes.
Telah pun kami lihat beberapa banyak kali sudah di mana kedudukan mereka telah pun dikacau akibat malang yang ditimpa oleh mereka ataupun mereka tidak membuat persediaan yang mencukupi. Dan kami akan lihat daripada apa yang ditunjukkan. Nabila Razali namanya. Dia dalam kereta nombor 92 sekarang. Berada dalam kedudukan nombor 7. Ataupun tidak silap saya. Kami akan lihat juga Kai Bahar tadi. Beberapa cubaan dia untuk mendapatkan masa yang berpatutan tidak mencukupi. Lalu akan berada di dalam kedudukan nombor 6.
Ya, so itu dia. Itu Kai Bahar yang kita lihat. So in the meantime, kita dah lihat dah ada beberapa racer pun sudah memasuki ke dalam pit. But on the meantime, kita dah lihat siapakah yang sudah mendapat timing yang baik. Dan Syukri Ayah masih lagi timing yang lebih menarik, 1.27.835. Tiada siapa yang betul-betul touch that time yet, Nick. But yang datang agak dekat, itu boleh mengatakan daripada P3 hingga ke P5 ni.
Oh, tadi kami lihat baliklah kepada satu kemalangan
tak patut berlaku lah, Nick. Tak patut berlaku. Jana Nick ni boleh mengatakan not lucky. She was a little unlucky, yes.
Saya rasalah Jana Nick ni di mana dia ditimpa malang selalulah di musim pertama.
Bukan kali pertama ya, guys. Bukan kali pertama, tuan-tuan. Banyak kali dah macam ni.
Ya, musim kami kira Jana Nick.
Walaupun beliau bawa kereta dengan baik pun, someone datang juga langgar beliau.
Iyalah, dan saya rasa itu menjadikan satu malang di mana Jana Nick telah pun terlepas peluang untuk mendapatkan masa yang bagus dan akan berada dalam kedudukan mereka. Tapi para penonton sekalian, haraplah anda semua terhibur dengan qualifying promotional class tersebut dan haraplah anda semua bersiap sedia kerana kami ada satu lagi qualifying di kategori terakhir kita, iaitu sporting class. Nama saya Nick, bersama dengan saya adalah Victor. Kami akan rehat seketika, jangan ke mana-mana.
It starts with a belief, a mission, a desire to rise through every challenge with our sight aimed at the sky. We're pushing the limits in the never-ending race towards ever better. Every lap is a discovery of what it takes to accelerate our capabilities. And we're not slowing down. We evolve to satisfy that calling from within. To get the adrenaline racing. To bring extraordinary to the everyday. Take on the exhilaration. New Vios GR Sport. Built to thrill.
Toyota. What's up, champions? So, welcome back to Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge Season 4, Round 2. My name is Matthews Isaac, and alongside with me, Victor Cass, who's going to be your official commentators. And I guess we are done with few of the qualifyings from all the other classes. And right now, we are moving on to the sporting class, Victor.
Oh boy, this is going to be a very stacked class here. We've got 19 drivers coming into this session here, so you know this track is going to be way more packed
Absolutely,
than any of the qualifying sessions we had so far. We got lots of returning drivers. We've got also new drivers coming in this season. We've specifically got 2 new drivers in round number 2. Team Saksama Motorsports has just brought in Lau Keng Siat as a new driver for their team. 23 Motors is bringing in Adi Rahimi as their new driver, and I can tell you from practice yesterday that Adi was really impressive from the practice. So it's really going to be very exciting to see how this is going to happen in this qualifying session. I really don't know what's going to be happening here. I mean, we've already seen so many drivers being able to come out here and set some times, but you know, if Adi Rahimi can still do the same kind of times that he's shown, the same kind of potential that he showed during practice here, I think we might be in for a new star in this sporting class.
Yeah, so it seems like there's lots of new names actually from the sporting class. We have Lau Seng Kiat, who is from Team Saksama Motorsports. And we also have another name there, Victor, and that is Adi Rahimi from 23 Motors. So these are the new drivers, and we are absolutely looking forward to how they're going to perform in on this qualifying session, of course.
Yeah, so drivers are now just about to do their final checks here. You know, I mean, you can imagine, like, it must be so busy in the pits right now.
Definitely,
you know, everyone running around, you know, getting their cars ready, and you know, everyone just lining up on the exits. So yeah, I mean, I just had a little chance to just have a little walk outside, and you know, it's really happening outside. It's just such a shame that, you know, we don't get to have the fans here, you know, because of the pandemic.
Exactly.
But we do know that you guys watching at home are just bringing your full support, you know, to the whole event. So thank you guys so much for joining us here. You know, we love every single one of you here on the stream here. So shout out to you guys at home.
Yes, thank you so much again. So in the meantime, I guess we'll be going into the qualifying section real soon. But I guess they are making some few last-minute changes. But at the same time there, Victor, we saw all the promotional classes, super sporting class. They have been absolutely amazing. And now it's down to the last one, that is the sporting class. So I'm really looking forward to several names over here. We have Bradley Benedict. We have seen, he's the younger brother of Brendan Paul, actually. And he has been absolutely amazing. And we also have Clement Yo. We have Sean Lee, especially, who just went from promotional and he's on to sporting, and right now he's no more a celebrity racer anymore.
He's still a celebrity in my heart.
He is a celebrity, but right now this man is showing some level of top performance and why he is on the sporting class. Yeah,
I mean, if you remember right, I mean, he impressed us so much from round number 1,
man.
and like, you know, and now I'm really hoping to see that, you know, he's going to be able to compete against the very best here in the sporting class. The drivers are now coming out of the pit exit. Oh, and we got a spinner.
Oh no,
we got a spinner on turn 1. I think that's going to be
someone got hit by a tornado over there.
Oh boy. Well, he's going to have to get out of the way there, but he's going to have to rejoin safely though. He's going to have to watch out for traffic. Oh boy. A little bit tight there, but looks like they managed to sort that out there. So thankfully, no red flags needed here. But definitely not something you want to do. You know, coming out of the pits and spinning right off the bat there. That's definitely going to give you a little bit of a jump to your system there. Hopefully, you'll be able to keep that together as we get into this qualifying session.
Absolutely. So it's a lovely weather down here in Sepang International Circuit. And of course, the chances to rain is still there because we all know how Sepang is unpredictable. Yeah, the weather forecast and the weather changes here has been phenomenal, actually. I'm not sure if I'm saying in a good way or a bad way. But yeah, let's see what is going to be happening today. In the meantime, I guess all of them are out lapping right now, and they will be setting their times absolutely soon so far, Victor.
Yeah, I mean, you can start to see a little bit clouds are starting to gather here. Again, just to remind you guys, you know, the forecast coming into this weekend has been 70% chance of rain. So it is rather high. It does not seem like that right now simply because of how clear the skies are, but you can already see that there's a few clouds already starting to gather here. So given that the race is going to be later on in the afternoon around 2:15, you know, the chances of the clouds getting even worse by that point there is still pretty much there at this point. So, you know, it's absolutely crucial. That's why, having these qualifying session early on here means that this is going to be the most ideal condition potentially for all these drivers to actually go out there and set their best time. So, with the track already being very nice and warm, with so much rubber already laid down by the previous sessions here, I'm expecting that the sporting class should be able to get themselves hit the ground running, so to speak, right off the bat.
Yeah, it seems like a good purple sector then, set by Sean Lee, 35.835. Oh no, we have a change over here. There is another one who's hitting 35.119, and that's believed to be Dato Ken Fu.
Yeah, I think these guys, they just about come out of their out laps there.
Yes.
So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these guys, just jostling each other for those purple sectors there. What I really want to see is who's going to be able to master Sector 2, because out of all the drivers here, they've always told me the same thing, is that Sector 2 is just so difficult to get right, because the margin for error can be very slim, especially on turn number 8. Even though the track limits are no longer enforced there, but to actually be able to set a good time, does mean you have to use the maximum amount of space in that turn, and some drivers have really struggled to be able to find an optimal kind of line going through there. So you tend to see some guys take it a little bit safe, staying a little bit more on the tarmac than usual. You see some guys going way wide, way off into the runoffs there, just to get some maximum momentum coming out of turn number 8. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I guess all the times are coming in there, Victor.
Oh yeah, time's starting to come in here. So we got Danny's already sitting at 127. Tom Go also sitting at 127 as well. Sean Lee is now on a flying lap here in his car number 6. Let's see who's going to be able to set a better time here. Look at the shade coming down towards turn 4. That's going to be...
it's a different world there, man.
It feels like a different world, doesn't it? Yeah. Because, again, we still have a lot of clouds starting to gather and form over here in Sepang. So, again, I still have to bring you back to the prediction that, there's a 70% chance of rain. So, it's high enough that even our race director had been worried that we were going to be facing the possibility of having a safety car start here today. So, like I said, again, this is the last chance for these guys to get out on track, set a really good time, especially in these ideal conditions here. And, especially the tires are still fresh, you'll only be able to hit your optimal peak performance within about 5 to 6 laps. So, nevertheless, Sean Lee comes across the line. It's only good enough for a 128.6, so still not quite a competitive time there. Certainly the best time so far is being held by Clement Yo with a 127.2. Kenneth Cole.
Look at the difference, man. Look at the difference between Clement Yo. Oh, no, now we see Tom Go going up.
Oh, yeah.
With 1.27.163. So this is the fastest man so far, but of course, this is going to change over time because we still have 24 minutes to go. And yes, Victor, we have seen this many times. We have seen, racers setting up times differently in each lap, actually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, again, we're talking about a situation where the drivers haven't really got the tires in optimal condition, so you can see some guys actually struggling to get grip, But sooner or later, once the tires are already heated up, the understeer effect is going to be a little bit more reduced. You're going to be able to grip that track a little bit more better. So that's the thing. The drivers out there, their job right now within these 5 laps is to get their tires in that optimal range, and then hopefully be able to set their fastest time. But literally, you only have that one shot, because after lap number 6, the tires aren't going to be able to provide you that level of performance anymore. So from that point onwards, it's going to be harder for you, actually to start to compete against time.
Yeah, so have a look on delivery number 12, where we see Haji Sultan Mustafa, who is currently, right now, he is setting up in P7. And yes, he is basically in P7. He has a lot of improvements, room for improvements actually. And coming closer next to him, it is going to be Dato Ken Fu. So it seems like a total of 19 races here, including the 2 new races, which is known as Lau Sengkian and also Adi Rahimi from 23 Motorsports. So this shows that this is going to be a top-level racing later on there, Victor.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, don't be confused about the fact that, even though this is a sporting class, even though we're talking about part-time drivers here, these guys are still racers, These guys are still very fast on track. So I expect that the racing is still going to be just as competitive, once we actually get to that starting grid. Speaking of Haji Sultan Mustafa, I know, seeing him win race number 2 in round number 1, he was literally the happiest person on the grid that day. I mean, he was all smiles pulling into the pits there, and I'm really hoping that round number 2 is similarly going to bring him a lot of success, because Haji Sultan, he's been hustling a lot, all these years, and finally in this Vios challenge, finally he's managed to taste a really good taste of success.
Yeah, he had a good sector 1 earlier on, and right now he's basically improving, Haji Sultan Mustafa. And in the meantime, we have a look on the other races. Number 12 there, of course, we're going to see Haji Sultan. And on racer number 5, it's going to be Wong Chin Eng, who is currently on P14, actually. Yeah, he's basically on P14. There you go. And on P12, we see Lau Seng Kiat, the new driver, actually trying to make his debut over here. And let's see if he's able to, shock everyone here with his performance. In the meantime, we see Mirza Shami Mazan is the fastest so far with 1.26.903, and he's been improving there, Victor.
Oh yeah, that's a good improvement there, and finally we got someone to break into the 126s. But bear in mind, the fastest theoretical time is 125.6, and that was set during the super sporting class early on, and also was touchable a bit by the rookie class. But coming to this sporting class here, that does mean that there's still a lot of room for improvement. There's still plenty of time to be found on the track there. The driver's just going to have to be creative enough to search every nook and cranny of North's track here to find the extra 2 or 3 tenths.
Yeah, talking about sporting class, of course, we have Adam Khalid as well, who really improved on the round 1 for the season 4, and he's back again here. And let's see what he has to offer in this race. And right now, he is basically in P10, and yeah, his timing would be 1.27.878, and he's from Crestmax Motorsports, and let's hope he's able to make his team proud.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's already made his team so proud in last round there when he managed to take first in race number 1, and then still took third, in race number 2, despite the fact it was reverse grid. So already Adam Khalid has done very, very well there to put himself up on the board. So here's hoping that, even though we're coming into round number 2, we're going to have a lot more weights added to the championship leaders here. So those guys who have been leading, in round number 1 are going to find themselves a little bit nerfed now coming into round number 2. So that's going to open the door, so to speak, there for other drivers to start to challenge them for that crown. But knowing how tenacious drivers like Adam Khalid are, how motivated, some of these drivers, especially the Haji Sultan are, you know that it's still going to be a very competitive grid coming to the actual race.
Yeah, so there is only 19 minutes to go for the racers to set up a really good time. And on board we see Tom Go, who is currently in P2 with his best time, 1.27.1, and he has been absolutely amazing. But then, Victor, if you look at the difference between P1 and P2, it's only a few milliseconds over there.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's what I love, especially because qualifying does mean that you're going to be down to the millisecond there to differentiate yourself compared to the others on the grid there. So like every single second counts, every single moment. You just got to be on point. You can't afford to have a little bit of a slip up here and there. You can't afford to take your tires in the wrong place at the wrong time. Everything has to come together perfectly there. And once you do that, the purple sectors, they're just going to come to you like cake.
Yeah, talking about the condition of tires there, Victor, we know that it's going to be a hot weather, and these racers are going to be putting themselves on a risk. At the same time, they're going to go all out. So talking about the tires, what do you have any additional information on the tires there, man?
I mean, like I said early on, we're talking about standard road tires. So, the conditions of racing a road tire, especially on a track like this, can be kind of weird, because it does mean that these tires tend to overheat a lot. The contact patch is a lot smaller, and these tires have threads as well, so that even reduces the amount of grip that the drivers potentially have. So what you tend to see is that the drivers actually use the lack of grip to their advantage, especially through some of the sharp turns. You notice that they would tend to kind of drift the car a lot, because what you're going to be doing, especially when you're driving these front-wheel drive cars, is that you're basically guiding the nose to point in the direction where you want your car to go. And the thing is that your rear wheels, as a result, are just going to be scrubbing most of the time. So because of that, the drivers sometimes will even use a little bit of handbrake through some of these turns there, just to induce a little bit of oversteer there, just to help the car turn a little bit better, to ensure that the car is facing the exit in the right time so that it can just accelerate out and get the maximum exit speed.
Yes, I guess we have a new name again. It's none other than Clement Yeo with 1.26.893, setting up the fastest so far. He has also beaten Mirza Shami Mazhan's time. And on the other side, we see Adi Rahimi is climbing on top. Yeah, he's the new boy on the block, but still, he looks like he's going to go for a big challenge over here, Victor.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the difference between the two of them is
Yes.
literally 7 milliseconds. Wow. I mean, again, the margins are going to be very, very tight in this qualifying session. No doubt because of the sandbagging is going to be on some of the championship leaders here, but also because, we're coming back to round number 2 after such a long and extended break. Teams have plenty of time to start to do plenty of work on their cars, and drivers as well have plenty of time to kind of like, get themselves reacquainted and kind of get themselves dialed in completely, especially over this weekend. So it's really quite exciting to see that, the timings are very, very tight and very, very competitive here all across the board.
Exactly. I mean, you know what I'm really worried about this track right now? It is on that turn 8. We see most of the cars are basically sliding out, and if you are basically on the wrong moment, you can basically spin out. And that is something that you don't really want to do, especially in a race. It's fine when you're doing on a qualifying there, but once it comes to race, you really need to be careful, especially in that part, because I see most of the races are sliding out.
That's the thing, especially when you're going off in a runoff like that, there's also the risk that you might actually end up damaging the undercarriage of your car, especially if you hit the grass, because the grassy area isn't quite flat. There's actually some bumps here and there, and if you catch a car at the wrong place at the wrong time, you could potentially lose a bumper or maybe even damage the suspension. So again, the thing is that for the drivers, literally the only thing they can do is just fully commit to the line they're going to be taking through turn 8. So if you're going to be going way wide, you have to really commit to it and just make your way through it. And you cannot have any second guesses. If you second guess yourself as you're making that entry, the chances of you going way wide and causing your car to spin out or even crash out, worst come to worst, is really, really high. So again, it's all a matter of like how much risk you want to take versus the amount of reward that you potentially can get back from it.
Exactly. So surprise, surprise, we have Adi Rahimi, who is basically in P1 right now, setting up a time of 1.26.371. This man is currently the fastest, and it's still 15 minutes to go, coming closer, which is none other than Clement Yeo at 1.26.774. And on P3, we see Mirza Shami Mazhan on 1.26.903. It seems like the gaps between the milliseconds are right now taking a good gap there, Victor.
Oh my goodness. I love that Rahimi is now opening the floodgates here. And bear in mind, he's only on his 3rd lap, so there's still plenty more time for him to find in the subsequent ones here. And the fact that he's already set such a high bar. Look at that, he's 4/10 in front of Clement Yeo. So wow. I mean, and just a cherry on top as well is that he's running on the car number 99, literally the last number on the grid there, and he's in 1st place.
I mean, that's a special number in my head. Yeah, so 23 Motors, I guess, that's your boy there, making you all proud and sound over here. And right now, let's see what is going to happen, as we still have 14 minutes to go for the official qualifying for the sporting class. And if you're wondering what is this is basically Toyota Gazoo Racing Festival Vios Challenge Season 4, round number 2. And there comes the livery number 55, Bradley Benedict Anthony, who is basically the younger brother of Brandon Paul. And it seems like he's still on that Dream Chasers team there, Victor.
Oh yeah, and he's still chasing the dream all the way to today. And again, Bradley has been very impressive in the sporting class there, a testament to, the amount of experience and as well as training that his family has been able to provide to him. And I'm hoping that he's going to be able to, use this as a jumping off point to be able to get some good results. But, he's been very consistently been inside the top buildings of the leaderboard here. So it's really no surprise to see that he's still able to keep up in time compared to everyone else. So Adi Rahimi comes across the line. Oh my goodness, purple sector 1,
again.
Purple sector 2. Wow.
Insane. The new boy is showing the old boys how it's supposed to be done. And that is Adi Rahimi, who's setting up the best time so far in sector 1 and also sector 2. And boy, I guess there's a lot of catch-up to be done by the rest of the races there, Victor.
Oh my goodness, and yeah, he's already hit lap 5 already. So this is peak performance we're seeing right
Absolutely,
here.
man.
I mean, 23 Motors has just been an absolute dominant force here in this Vios challenge. I mean, both in the super sporting class and then now in the sporting class with this severe talent that we have here in Adi Rahimi. I mean, this is definitely going to be a massive shake-up here to the grid, that's for sure. So, I mean, wow, I really cannot wait to see how this is going to turn out in the race later on.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal so far. Yes, he may be new, but he's not here for just to participate. He is over here to take over. I mean, I'm not it's not an actual quote from him, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's just basically we're saying in general because of how he's been performing by setting up absolutely impressive timing so far. So Claminio on P2 is setting up 1.26.774. Nothing much of a change there. Mirza Shami on 1.26903. If we have a look on the back there, Victor, we see Dato Danny Yip, who is basically at the last there. Of course, his best time is 1.29.583. Do you think there's much more time for improvement over there?
Oh, definitely. I mean, 129 is certainly a time that really, for me, would be if I was setting a 129 on track, I would be going back to the pits and asking mechanics what's going on in my car.
What's going on? Yeah.
So I think that's definitely still adjustments he's going to have to do. Currently, Dato Danny Yip is in the pits right now. He's conferring with his mechanics here, trying to see what can they do to try to solve this issue here. But a 129, yeah, that's a really slow time there. So certainly might be a big indicator of some car troubles going on there for Alezo. So they're going to have to do their best to try to fix it up because we only got 11 minutes left on this qualifying session. And remember, at the end of the session, the cars will have to go to Parc Ferme. So after that, there's no longer any more adjustments these teams can do. This is literally going to be the last shot to make those changes.
Yep, so there you go. The livery number 20, Hazik Zyril O right now, who is on P10. And his timing is going to be 1.27.673. And this man still has a long way to go. And we are underway on the last 10 minutes of the official qualifying for the sporting class. And let's see, all the 19 racers are able to set up amazing time. But so far, Adi Rahimi is the the entire spotlight is on him there, Victor.
Oh my goodness, especially, taking pole like this on your debut here. I mean, how much more of a statement can he make here today? I mean, I think the only thing that's going to really pull this one full circle is if he ends up winning race number 1, leading the whole way. But wow, I mean, certainly he has the pace here, that's for sure. And having seen him as well since practice, he's already been impressing that much, from that stage on. So we've got a new competitor on the block, and his name is Adi.
Yeah, he is definitely promising. And there goes Sean Lee on P12 actually. And right now we have a look on the livery number 98, and that is Clamin Yu. Yes, of course he's chasing the front man, of course, but right now this is not the race, it's basically the qualifying. Of course they're going to take a little bit of a risk, to get the tires burning out over there and make sure, oh, look at that, he's going off the grid. And that is turn 8's climax, of course. That is not what I usually expect there, Victor. But then, improvements needs to be done if you want to take this absolutely serious in terms of winning the race.
The tricky thing about that last section, right, this whole sequence of turn 6, 7, and then 8 is that the whole turn kind of tightens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also kind of like a mini straight going on between turn 7 and 8. So sometimes drivers will find themselves unsteering very, very heavily as they start to turn into turn 8. So that's why I noticed some drivers, to kind of mitigate that, they actually pull the handbrake a little bit just to help their car turn a little bit better through turn 8. Now the risk of that, of course, is that your car will be sliding a little bit, and sometimes you can see drivers will just end up overcooking it anyway and just end up going wide. So yeah, it's a very, very tricky part of the track actually to kind of hit. And I'm glad right now that the race control has decided to no longer enforce track limits there. So drivers have now free reign to kind of experiment a little bit, to see kind of like what's going to be the ideal line. So I'm expecting we're still going to be seeing a lot more drivers kind of pushing the limits on that specific part of the track there. But hopefully this is going to be a little bit less happen a little bit less frequently when it comes to the actual race.
Absolutely. So coming down into turn 6, we see That is Clement Yo, actually. And there you go, he comes up again, and this time, no improvements again there, Victor. He's still sliding out. Maybe the grip in the tires has been a little bit, off or something. We're not sure about that. But I guess we see livery number 33 is gonna go into the pits, and that is going to be Tom Go, who has set an amazing time so far on P4 with 1.27.163. And I guess he's on for the pits there to make some changes.
Yeah, I mean, there's still about 7 minutes left, so perhaps they want to do a little bit of adjustment there on the tire pressures, or maybe just a bit of feedback from the garage side there towards the driver to see whether they can try to improve a bit more time. But I can understand, at least bringing back to Clement Yo just now in car number 98, I can understand his frustration, that he must be experiencing right now, because the thing is that he's trying to find extra 6/10ths there in order to match Ali Rahimi's time. That's why you're seeing him taking a lot of risks there, especially in that last sector, because again, the sector 2 here on this no track is one of the most difficult parts here on this in this Vios challenge. So Clement is literally trying his level best here, to try to extract the extra performance, and that does mean that sometimes you're going to be bound to make mistakes here and there.
Yeah, so but still, it seems like Adi Rahimi is still the shining star, who is basically 1.26.160. The man is the fastest so far in this qualifying. We still have 6 minutes to go, and he is basically leading the rest of them. There you go, the number 93, Dennis Ng, who is right now in P9, and this man has set a timing of 1.27.422, and I guess there's still a lot of time to improve, because we see the timing between Eric Young all the way to Adam Khalid. It's only milliseconds there, Victor, although it's 1.27.
I fear that, given that these drivers are already out for quite a while, I mean, all across the board, I'm seeing drivers already out there for 10 laps, for 11 laps, some even gone for like 15 laps now. So at this stage, the tires are already quite well worn. You're no longer going to be able to find the optimal grip anymore. But really, what I'm also kind of watching is kind of the average pace, the last laps they're going to be able to set here. And what I'm seeing here is that the average times have already gone up. So really, I don't think we're going to be seeing much changes or much improvements across the board here. I think until they're going to be able to find some like new lines to kind of try out, I doubt we're going to be able to see much changes to the actual leaderboard at this point. So right now, I think for the drivers especially, it's just going to be a matter of dialing their car in for the race, making sure that their setup is going to be ideal from the racing perspective here, because again, they've already done their best right now, literally, for this qualifying session. I think this is pretty much already set in stone here as far as the grid position is going to be. Now the question is, what is going to be the race pace here for these drivers? And taking these extra additional laps here is going to provide such crucial data, for both the drivers as well as the teams, to get a gauge about how they will be approaching the strategy later on when we come to race number 1.
Yeah, and I guess there's going to be a little bit difference there from Haji Sultan Mustafa's position that has been taken over by Kenneth Coe and also Eric Young. Earlier on, he was on P6, and it seems like as they have been dropped onto P8, and the other racers have already taken his timing over there. And right now, you have a look on the livery number 93, and that is none other than Dennis Ng, who is right now into P9 there, Victor. And this is livery number 68, and that is believed to be Ling Chong Bang, who's basically not having a good time there, Victor.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're that far behind
Victor, I have a question there. It's not a crime to start all the way at the back, but but the thing is, we have seen many events, especially in racing history. There, some of the races started from the back grid, ends up winning the race, and sometimes being on the top 3, getting the pole position and stuff. So it's all down to the races, actually.
Oh yeah, for sure. And sometimes it may not even be the racer themselves, because sometimes having a setup that's not ideal for your driving style there can also severely impact your ability to set some fast times there. So you can't 100% say it's completely the fault of the driver themselves. It's always a combination of factors, and sometimes it's always about
getting everything to line up perfectly for you that's going to allow you to compete against the top guys. And that's pretty much why the top guys remain the top guys, because those are the guys who are able to get everything all together just right, just so that they can set that one flying lap.
Yeah, talking about top guys, I guess the top man right now is Adi Rahimi. I guess the other racers are still yet to touch his timing. He's been absolutely impressive, although he's the basically the new kid in the block, and he is showing how it's done. And we have a look on livery number 55, Bradley Benedict right now into P2, I believe, with 1.26.689. And it seems like Clemenio is dropped down with Mirza Shami as well. And it seems like the Dream Chasers are chasing their dreams.
Yeah, dream in the form of 23 Motors, Adi Rahimi in this case, but you know, it's no surprise that he's going to be able to overtake Clement Yeo. I mean, his tires are definitely much younger. He's only been out for about 12 laps and definitely got the help of a draft just now during that last lap. So that's definitely a very good position for Bradley Benedict to be in, because he's going to be practically on the front row there, right alongside Adi Rahimi. And you know, the thing is that Adi is still going to be starting on the right-hand side, so Adi will have the inside line going into turn 1. So Bradley, you know, at least he's going to be in a position to attack him on that first corner, and perhaps that's going to be all he needs, you know, going into the race.
Yep, so I guess we still have 1 minute more to go in this qualifying session, and we see a little bit of a debris there flying off the track, especially when you're exiting turn 8. As we go straight into turn 1, we have a look on Bradley Benedict. The livery that you're watching right now, the mixture of green and white. He's been absolutely impressive so far. Yes, he started from the back. He improved slow by slow, took time, and right now I guess he's on his ideal timing there, Victor.
Yeah, there's still about 1 minute left there, so still a chance to get maybe 1 or 2 laps to go here in order to try to see if we can improve a little bit more in time, or perhaps just get a little bit more familiar, you know, get yourself all prepped up and dialed in, ready for the race there. So right now we're seeing a draft being taken here by car number 10, that is Dato Ken Fu now, trying to go a little bit on the outside here, while car number 12, Haji Sultan, is taking the inside, so a little bit of a defensive line there. But look at that, tightening it up immediately there. I think it's a little bit of a preview of the kind of overtaking moves that we can expect here, as these drivers are seriously just testing out, you know, they're just experimenting and, you know, seeing what they can kind of do, and just giving themselves a little bit of a warm-up for what's about to come.
I mean, he's showing on a trailer over here, man. We're yet to go for the full movie, actually. But yeah, we have a look on this. I guess this is basically the last lap to go for all of the racers, especially. And we have a look on livery number 71, who's on the pit right now. It's going to be Lau Seng Kiat, who basically in P16, not the best of times. I guess he had some changes over there, and perhaps that is why he's on the pits. And maybe, but then Victor, the racing team, the strategy has to be perfect right now for all of the races.
Oh, absolutely, and you know, the kind of race pace you're going to be able to make here, combined with your position on the grid, that is going to determine a lot about how you're going to be approaching the race later on. So, especially for the guys who are going to be a little bit further back, especially what they want to do, especially, is just get a really good start, you know. So, but then for those in the front there, you know, it's going to be about, you know, hitting your optimal point as quickly as you can, and then, you know, trying to build distance or just trying to catch, you know, those who are in front of you. So there's a lot of things that's going to be, you know, apparent later on during the race. But anyways, checkered flag is already out here, ladies and gentlemen. So the qualifying session is coming to a close now. We're seeing the drivers coming up on the grid here because they're going to be doing their practice starts. So again, a little bit of a preview of what's going to be coming later on during the race.
Absolutely. So I guess they're basically done, and we will be showing the official timing real soon. But it seems like a very impressive moment for Adi Rahimi and 23 Motors. And there you go, the livery number 69, Shanmunathan Arumugam, who is basically on the pits as well. And right now, yes, the times has been set up. They already know their positions, and it's all about focusing in the race.
Yeah, I mean, from this point on, I mean, cars are going to be going to Parc Fermé. Some of the guys will be called into scrutineering just to do just some checks. So those checks usually are random to ensure, you know, the competitiveness, integrity is still going to be there. So a shout out to our marshals and stewards who are responsible for ensuring a fair and
a fair competition for everyone here. So, but nevertheless, though, the biggest talking point is for me definitely is going to be Adi Rahimi. Right off the bat, his debut race here, debut qualifying here, he's already putting himself on pole. I can't wait to see what this guy can do later on in the race.
Absolutely, he is the man of the moment, and there you got a look on Sean Lee, who is basically in the pits as well, and he has set a time with 1.27.837, and we will be showing the official timing real soon. But it seems like an amazing race, amazing qualifying so far. So we have a look on the highlights again and see what has happened so far. But then, as what Victor said, the impressive moment comes from Adi Rahimi. He's new, but he looks like he's been here for many years now, man.
I mean, definitely he has gotten some really good knowledge of the track, you know, coming into this. So this guy is definitely so well prepared and showing so much potential, you know, in this next race here. So again, this is going to be a huge shakeup, I think, to the sporting class, that's for sure. I mean, you got guys like Bradley, Clement Yeo, and Mirza.
He was the most surprising one actually for me, Victor.
Yeah, and like I said, you got some of the top guys in the sporting class literally right behind him and all vying to fight Adi for that spot. So I mean, again, very impressive debut, but it does mean that all the pressure now, every single bit of the pressure is now landing straight onto car number 99. So I wonder if he's going to be painting a big target on his back there, or are they going to be able to keep the car really good together there. But nevertheless, though, we're going to be getting themselves the mindset now for that race here. This is the last qualifying session. It's finally ended.
Yeah, it has basically ended. So I guess you'll get the official timings posted and shown to you all real shortly. But what a qualifying session it has been there, Victor.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly very clean as well. I mean, especially given the trouble we had earlier on in the promotional class. But yep, again, this is the official results here from the qualifying. Adi Rahimi, impressive in that debut here, taking first place. Bradley Benedict in 2. Clement Yeo in position number 3. And Mirza Shami in position 4. Tom Go in position 5. So those are your top 5 for now here in this official qualifying. This is going to be the starting grid, and we'll be seeing later on in race number 1. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that in the next stream there. So coming down the rest of the list here, this is going to be the best of the rest. Haziq Zaria all in 11th place, Dr. Ken Fu in 12th, Sean Lee in 13th place. So hopefully you'll be able to work his way up a little bit better. Adam Khalid as well, kind of stuck in 14th, which is quite surprising, especially for the guy who has placed both podiums in race 1 and 2 in round number 1. So yeah.
I mean, it's been absolutely amazing there, Victor, because we know qualifying has been amazing, especially from the promotional class, the rookie class, and right now we are down to sporting class. We are also done with super sporting as well. So I guess it's been an amazing race qualifying session so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that no one has actually crashed out. All the cars are still very much intact, so we're going to have a full grid coming into the actual race here. So I'm excited. So make sure you guys are excited as well, because that race is going to be coming in the stream later on here, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. So I guess we are done with the qualifyings, and right now, I guess we will be joining with our host, which is none other than Nazruddin Rahman, who's basically exciting everyone on the on the start of the entire program, of course. And we are going to be with him right now. So Nas, my man, take it away, brother.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Mr. Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a wonderful qualifying session. Itulah dia sesi kelayakan kita untuk sporting class. Tapi, of course, the one grabbing attention is the crash by Jananik and Talitha Tan. Make sure that their cars will be nice and good for race 1. Jadi jangan ke mana-mana. Sekarang merupakan sesi off the grid kita, sedikit hiburan untuk anda sampai kita menantikan race 1. Jadi kita mulakan dengan selebriti Toyota Gazoo Racing kita. Siapakah dia? Talitha Tan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is off the grid.
Hi, I'm Talitha, and I will be playing a couple of songs for you today. And the first song that I will be singing is called Don't You See Me, a song about self-love and self-worth. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Will I ever be good enough for you? Will you ever Think of all the things you put me through, the things I do. Wonder what you do without me. Damn, you needed me. Don't you see that I'm done with the air that you breathe? Don't you know that I'm more than you need me to be? Yeah. Don't you see me? Won't you love me? Just go ahead and walk away. Don't you see that I'm done with the air that you breathe? Don't you know that I'm more than you need me to be? Yeah. Don't you see me? Won't you love me? Just go ahead and walk away. So that was Don't You See Me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. This next song will be dedicated to all of you guys. The song is called Okay, because I want to remind you guys that even in these difficult times, you guys will be okay. Enjoy. You tell me stories about you, that you're there, something real, that'll make your heart beat like a bird that beats their wings. You tell me, baby, that you feel the same way about me. You look so happy, baby, tell me, whatever happened to that love? Boy, you drive me crazy 'cause you get into me straight answer to your heart. Remember you're something 'cause it's getting pretty tiring understanding you. 'Cause you opened my eyes to a world of lies that baby you'd be leaving me behind. You pushed it in and twisted the knife, pretending that I feel no pain now. Baby, you say that I'll be okay. I can't erase it from my mind. I just replay it all the time. That I make your heart beat like a bird that beats your wings. You tell me, baby, that you feel the same way about me. You look so happy, baby, tell me, whatever happened to that love? Boy, you drive me crazy 'cause you get into me straight answer to your heart. Remember you're so plain 'cause it's getting pretty tiring understanding you. 'Cause you opened my eyes to a world of lies that maybe you'd be leaving me behind. You pushed it in and twisted the knife, pretending that I feel no pain now. Baby, you'll see that I'll be okay. I'll be okay. So that's all from me. Thank you for tuning in.
This is Toyota Gazoo Racing off the grid dan kita baru saja menyaksikan selebriti Toyota Gazoo Racing kita Talitha Tan, dan saya amat kagum dengan Talitha ya, walaupun baru saja bertembung dengan Jananik di atas Lita tadi, tapi beliau tetap cool dan confident dan terus memberikan persembahan yang terbaik khas untuk peminat-peminat beliau di laman maya. Jadi kepada anda yang bersama-sama kita, teruskan menonton secara langsung dari Lita Sepang F1. Inilah dia Toyota Gazoo Racing musim yang keempat, pusingan yang kedua. Kita baru saja menyaksikan sesi kelayakan daripada 4 jenis kelas racing yang kita ada di sini. Super Sporting, Sporting, tidak dilupakan Promotional dan juga Rookie kelas kita. Jadi apa yang kita dapat di sini? Kita akan expect pertandingan yang sengit. We've got sunny skies right here, dry track. Dan kita akan menyaksikan satu race yang laju ya. Kalau kita lihat keputusan daripada qualifying tadi, kita nampak Tengku Jan daripada Super Sporting Class yang telah menjuarai pusingan yang pertama. Untuk pusingan yang kedua, beliau mungkin start slow orang kata. Dia berada di grid yang keempat. Dan untuk promotional class pula, tahniah diucapkan kepada semua-semua selebriti kita yang telah berlumba dengan sebaik yang mungkin. Dan untuk sporting class yang baru saja kita saksikan tadi sebelum off the grid, kita nampak new entry kita, Adi Rahimi, yang mendapat pole position P1 ya. Jadi kita akan lihat bagaimana prestasi beliau buat pertama kali berlumba di dalam Toyota Gazoo Racing. Jadi kepada anda semua yang sedang menonton, saya perlukan suatu perjanjian. Kita akan kembali beraksi pada 2.15 tengah hari dan kita akan bersiaran langsung pada 2.30 tengah hari. Jadi jangan lupa kepada anda berjanji kepada saya, kita jumpa kembali pukul 2.15 petang nanti. Baiklah para hadirin sekalian, para penonton, kita jumpa selepas ini. Nazruddin Rahman signing off. We'll see you right after this.
Again, we're trying to go for the run on the outside, but looks like it's a little bit wider than last time. So Hayden Heikel might be able to close it. No! Shabik Ali slips on 5. He's going to take first place, but Hayden Heikel fights back immediately coming up on turn 2. It will be side by side going through turn 3. But Shabik Ali does have the inside line. He does have a lead going into a turn 4. Hayden Heikel has it tucked in behind, and he wants to get his lead back. But Shabik Ali says, no, this is mine now.
Zizan Raza dan Syukri, kedua-dua mereka berdekatan antara satu sama lain. Tapi kami akan lihat ya, siapakah bakal memenangi. Zizan Raza berjaya untuk memotong kaki Syukri Ayah membalas balik. Tapi kami akan lihat Zizan Raza sekarang berpegang pada kedudukan nombor 1.
So at least we will stay ahead of Mirza by the time he gets to his turn 6. But can he hold on to it? No, Mirza actually slips onto the inside there and gets up into 7th place. What a move!
Oh my goodness. A small little lapse of focus definitely cost him there. It's very hard to maintain focus.
He does find the inside here coming to turn 1, but he doesn't have the inside to turn 2, and that's going to be allowing Adam Khalid to be able to get a lead up on him going to turn 3. Adam Khalid, though, he doesn't quite close the door, so Clement Yo manages to find himself an opportunity as a lead changes between the two of them. Clement Yo, car 98, is now in the lead of the race with 16 laps to go. Looks like Eric Yo may have used an opportunity. He switches around here. He does have the outside of turn 1, but can he hold this lead? No, he's trying to battle Adam Khalid now for 2nd place. He does have the outside line. He has quite a lot of speed. This is going to be enough for him to take P2. I think it is. He has the inside line coming through here. We're riding on board here with Finn as he takes P2 in front of Adam Khalid.
Very nicely done indeed here, coming in from all these drivers.
Danny Stung and Miro Heikel are really starting to bring the chase on him. And look at that. That's car number 77, Kenneth Gore now slipping past Haji Sultan to take away his position. So Eric Young now trying his best to keep on Clement Yo's bumper. Oh, sliding very hard there. But Eric Young getting on the steer. That's going to be opening the door now for Adam Khalid to slip up into 2nd place there. And that's exactly what I was telling you about. He was waiting for that opportunity and he found it.
Adam Khalid just immediately pounced on that opportunity. Like a boxer that senses somebody that's hurt.
And Khalid had set a 138 early on a couple of laps ago. Adam Khalid now taking the inside here. It looks like he might have just made this move stick, but Clement Yo made a mistake. He left the gap that was way too wide, and Adam Khalid slides his way in like a thief in the night. Armini takes a very defensive inside line here, while Lim Trubek cruises go around the outside. He's carrying a lot more speed though, but is it going to be enough? It looks like it just might be enough here for Lim Trubek as he splits around. Takes him before he enters turn 2 and takes away 9th place for Armini Taha. Currently the 5th wheel here in this lead. Very well! He found the inside line there onto Mark Darwin. Actually snatches the lead away from the driver from Laser Motorsport. So Mark Darwin now trying to attack back onto him here as he comes through towards turn 3. Number Jack going way outside there, but he's not going to be able to get close enough. But the thing is, Shabik Ali goes around the outside. He goes around the outside. True Jack tries to get inside, but he's going to be outside coming to turn 2. Going well down and standing his right, stay ahead of Mark partner with Talitha now trying his best here to get out of the podium places. Looks like he might just be able to get the P3 away from Shafiq Ali. It looks like Boywon does have a little bit of a lead here. Going to his turn 4, he's going to be able to defend. But Talitha now trying to go around the side. Look at that, Talitha going around the outside here. He will have the inside line in turn 5. He will have an advantage. He is trying to take the lead here. Can he do it though? Yes, he does. He is in front. Talitha now leading race 2 with 6 laps to go.
All right, 11 laps to go. As we have seen it, not many changes across the board here, but we might see a change as we speak. Kenneth Cole now coming in, a little bit of a contact there. Oh, nice. Very beautiful.
At that, Bradley really getting a good toe off of him coming down the main straight. So Bradley now says an opportunity is going to try to use turn 1 to his advantage here because he is able to slip alongside Kenneth Cole thanks to that toe. There's a Shabby now trying to look on getting the action here, going a long way around here while Bradley Benedict tries his best to stay on the inside. Bradley now able to stay ahead of him. Reza Shabby slipping through as well as Kenneth Cole starts to lose his position here to the 2 drivers. But now he's fighting back. He's fighting hard. He splits both Bradley Benedict and Mirza Shami and stays in P8. Look at that. Mirza Shami just suddenly finds the inside line here on turn number 6, keeping Kenneth Cole on the outside. He tucks away into the 7th turn here in front, locking up, sliding his car all the way through, drifting it all the way through towards turn 9.
Kita lihat Nabil Ahmad tetap akan berpegang kepada kedudukan besar.
Cantik di situ hari itu. Jentera 24. Syukri Yaya memintas. 3 laps to go. Dan kali ini kita nampak itu Akio Takiyama dipintas sebenarnya oleh jentera nombor 18. Dan itu adalah Jana Nick dalam perlombaan ini di Toyota Gazoo Racing.
Sisa.
Jauh lagi Nick. Jauh lagi Nick.
Cuba.
Jauh lagi Nick. Kita nampak dia racing line
Tengok
daripada
daripada sini.
Daripada sini pun jauh juga Nick. Inilah
Itu
peluang.
dia. Tapi kami akan lihat satu lagi belakang yang begitu teruk yang telah dikerjakan oleh Kai Bahar. Sisa rasa percaya.